There's a rumble in the distance, something stirring up the ground. Coffee shops and corner stores, people talking all around. But the words they're speaking softly got a weight that pulls you down. Something's moving through the grapevine, word by word from town to town. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust? When the talk gets low, who do you trust? When the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow, who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Backroom deals and handshake promises sliding underneath the door. Politicians playing poker with the chips are rich and poor. Every word's a calculation, every pause worth so much more. While the people keep on waiting for the truth they're hungry for. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust? When the talk gets low, who do you trust? When the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow, do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Growing thicker, every lie becomes the truth, and the honest voices calling sound like strangers in the booth. We're all just trying to listen to the static and the noise, but the loudest information drowns out the quieter voice. Who do you trust? When the talk gets low, who you trust? When the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow, who you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Who you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust? When the whispers grow.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Political Theater, guys. This is episode 131. Thank you guys for being here this evening. You guys are listening to us on Rumble, YouTube, Substack, wherever you guys may be listening to this stream this evening. Make sure you guys share the link out and know that we are live. It has been a hilarious day because, as everyone is no doubt well aware at this point, the walls are closing in. They've got him. It's over. You know, they've got him this time. They have him. They've got him. Oh, wait, but they don't. This is got to be the funniest. You know, when the Democrats came out and everyone was so mad at Trump when he came out and said, you know, this is a hoax. The Epstein stuff is a hoax. Oh, it's so bad. It's a hoax. And they were like, oh, why? How could you possibly call it a hoax? This is what he was talking about. This is what he was talking about 1,000%. The Democrats, if you didn't want Trump to get away with calling it a hoax, maybe you shouldn't just blatantly lie, like very obviously lie, and especially on something like the Epstein stuff, because there's so many people that have paid so close attention to this for so long that I don't even think it was an hour after they released that, everyone's like, what are you talking about? This is an old email. Everyone's already read this before. Oh, and by the way, the witness that you're talking about, this person that's the victim, it's Virginia Giuffre, who's already exonerated Trump in numerous different ways. Like, like really? Really? Like, this is what we're doing now? Like, this is how we're going to go about this? We're just going to come up with something. We're going to release an old email that's already been out there, and all of the internet sleuths, you just assumed what? We were just going to forget about it? Is that what the idea was there? Like, it is yet again another moment of the Democrats shooting themselves in the foot, thinking they've got him. You know, it's over for Trump. He's the beginning of the end. I've seen people all day long today just saying that, oh my goodness, breaking news, Trump is in Epstein files. Oh my goodness, it's the end of all days. And I went and read the House Oversight, like the report they released, right? And I'll tell you, my immediate reaction to it was, it looks to me like it confirms what Trump's story has been, or maybe it wasn't even Trump's story, really. It was just the extemporaneous reporting that Trump was involved in the original complaints against Epstein. It sounds to me like that also confirms that he did throw Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago, his club, and then he told Maxwell to stop talking to people because he didn't like what she was doing either. So it sounds like it corroborates all of Trump's story, like the stories about Trump on this. But of course, that doesn't matter. Like, no, it's over. It's over. The dog that didn't bark was Trump. Oh my God! Like, how much do you want to bet that the Democrats, what they did is they got the files, right? So they got these files, and then they just hit like Control F and searched Trump, and they just published the first thing that they could get that had Trump's name in it. Like, I think that's what they did. Like, they didn't check it. They didn't go look into it. They didn't actually do any of that intentionally. But then they realized it was Virginia's name, so they had to redact her name, so they put victim over top of it. Like, it's so transparent. Like no one's going to buy this. Like, it's not going to go over with anybody. No one cares. No one believes this in the slightest. But of course, the Democrats don't care. They're out here just lying through their teeth, just telling everybody that this is the end of all days, that the whole world has ended, that Trump is going down, that this is going to be the end of his presidency. And it's just like, I don't even think this deserves, like, this isn't even as bad as some of the other hoaxes that they've done. Like, I mean, this is just like a pathetic attempt to get involved and to try and smear President Trump. And they have done this to themselves. They have done this to themselves. They've managed to wrap themselves around this Epstein stuff endlessly. And I'll tell you one thing. One of the things that I noticed that Trump does, and he's done this for his entire political career, essentially, is whenever they seize on something, instead of backing off of it like most people do, or they're, trying to get them to calm down about whatever it is that they say, which is what a lot of politicians would do. Trump does the opposite. Trump goes, screw you. No, I don't care. I'm not dealing with you idiots. It's a hoax. You're liars. He goes back at them 100%. And what happens is the Democrats always respond in the exact same way. They spin up and, oh my goodness, that we need to have, we've got to have hearings. We've got to have people. We've got to have everything. We've got to have hundreds of different videos. We got to talk about this. We have to investigations in Congress. The perfect example of what I'm talking about here is the tax, his tax filings, right? So his tax filings, they scream about his tax filings forever. Why isn't he being transparent about his tax filings? And what did Trump say almost immediately as soon as the tax stuff, like when they started talking about it? He said, if you want to see my taxes, all you're going to do is you're going to find out that I am far richer than anybody has ever could possibly imagine, and that I pay more taxes than anybody else that you've ever met. That's what you're going to find. So what happened with that? You go into years of them searching for the tax documents, and years of them trying to get them released. And when they finally released, when they finally let those documents out, you never heard about it again. Ever. Never. You don't hear anybody talking about Trump's tax documents anymore. Why is that? Why is that? Well, why is it that after all that time, nothing happened, that it was just amazing to me? Like, it just disappeared, and it's just like, oh, well, whoops. And it's because it probably showed exactly what Trump said. It probably showed exactly what Trump said, that he is far richer than anybody could have possibly imagine, and that he's always been paying taxes, and that he's good at paying taxes. Like, I mean, but this is what they've done here. It's almost the same thing. Trump came out and was like, no, this is stupid. I'm not involved with anything to do with Epstein. Nobody believes that I am. This is a hoax. This is nonsense. Now, it pissed a bunch of people off. I'll give it that. But then you see this stupid story that comes out today. It's just incredible. They come out with this story, and I'll put that up on the screen in case people missed it, just so people know what we're talking about here. So here is the initial release, okay, from the House Oversight or the Senate Oversight. I'm sorry, House Oversight, I think it is on this one, right? Yeah. Oversight Dems releases this. Oversight Dems have received new emails of Jeffrey Epstein's estate that raise serious questions about Donald Trump and his knowledge of Epstein's horrific crimes. So you look at you read that headline, and then you click on it, and you read this here. It says, so here's the original message from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, okay? I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked yet is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him, and he has never once he's been mentioned. Police chief tomorrow, 75% there. So this is what they're claiming is the smoking gun. Now, without even mentioning the victim's name here, without even going into the whole aspect of this, I want you to pay attention to the language here. The dog that hasn't barked. What does that mean? What does that mean when you say the dog that hasn't barked? That means that he is an outsider to the situation, that would be a threat to the situation, and he hasn't alerted people yet. That's what that would mean. Okay, so they're worried about Trump, and they say, look, he hasn't said anything yet. I don't know what's going on there. Why he hasn't said anything yet. But they also do this here. The victim spent hours with him at my house, at my house with him. But the best part about this is, then you go, and this is an old email. This isn't new. This is an old email. This in the old email, and so here's the original version of this email back in 2011, by the way. So I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Virginia spent hours at my house with him, and he has never once been mentioned. So same email without the redaction, and it was already out there. Now, of course, the Democrats have come out and said, well, we got them redacted. Like, no, you did. What are you talking about? Okay, like what are you talking about? It's just amazing, though. This is what they're doing. This is how they're playing the game. They're going to try and act as if this isn't happening. This isn't real. So in light of that, this is what CNN had Malene Stonsbury. She's a representative from New Mexico. She had this, and this has got to be the most uncomfortable clip I've ever seen from a congresswoman being grilled by someone on CNN. I mean, this is actually a pretty decent job by the reporter here, but it's a long clip, but I'll just go through it. But we'll go through it in sections just so people can watch this, because this is just amazing. Every part of this is.
Thank you so much for being with us. What are you taking from these emails?
Yeah, I mean, these emails are clearly extraordinarily explosive. They implicate the president, that he not only knew what was happening in Jeffrey Epstein's circle, but that he spent time with at least one, if not multiple, of Jeffrey Epstein's named sex victims, as well as there's discussion in the email that you just cited between Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein about the fact that he had been the dog that didn't bark, and they specifically are talking about the police. So what this implicates is that potentially going back all the way to 2011, even after Jeffrey Epstein had been investigated for criminal activity, not just in sex trafficking, but also for financial crimes, which we know U.S. Attorney Acosta lied under his deposition about, that Donald Trump was being named by Epstein and by Ghislaine Maxwell as being the dog that didn't bark on them. And so the question is, what did Donald Trump have on them? Was he engaged in these activities? And why is Donald Trump calling Republican members of the House today and yesterday to threaten them to get off of the discharge petition? If he thinks that we should be focused on the reopening the government, then why is he personally calling Republicans and threatening them right now?
So help us understand this, because Democrats redacted Virginia Giuffre's name. And I mean, I have to say, these emails.
It came to us redacted. No, it came to us redacted.
It came to you redacted. Okay.
Yes, so we don't even know. That is the claim of the White House. So that's something that we should be asking questions about. Yes. Okay, really interesting. So and House Republicans came out and mentioned the redaction there. It is of significance that Virginia Giuffre, who was so vocal, right, and was not known for pulling any punches about what happened to her, did not accuse Trump of wrongdoing. And so I want to know kind of what you think of that, because there is this discrepancy. You have Epstein saying this in an email to Maxwell. Maxwell, you know, we know about her in terms of her credibility. She doesn't really have credibility, right, when it comes to being honest. I'd say people have the same questions about Epstein
Giuffre has said that there wasn't wrong. She hasn't claimed wrongdoing with Trump. So how do you kind of square what you're reading in the email with what Virginia Giuffre had said publicly?
Well, first of all, like I just mentioned, we don't know if the White House's claim that that redacted name actually is Virginia Giuffre.
So this is the what I want to just point out before we continue this, because it gets more and more uncomfortable, I promise. It just gets worse. It continues the show. She told her, it's like she's acting as if she doesn't know, is what she's doing here. So, wait, but it is Virginia's name. And be like, well, the White House said that. We don't know that. It could be anybody. It could be, there could be multiple victims, is what she said at the beginning of this. We know at least one spent lots of time with Trump, and so we know at least one. There could have been more, but you don't include the name. You don't include the name, and then she's looking at this. The CNN reporter, I got to give credit to the CNN reporter here, because normally I don't. CNN has been better here recently, I guess, but you have to give her credit. She's just looking at her like, are you just going to keep lying? Like, for those who are just listening, the look on the CNN reporter's face while she's doing this is just incredible. She's just like, wait, but it is Virginia Giuffre. And she's like, well, we don't know that. I mean, but we do know that. So are you just going to ignore that and the fact that this is Virginia Giuffre? Then Virginia Giuffre has been she was a supporter of Trump. She liked Trump. She said that he never did anything wrong to her ever. Are we just going to are we going to pretend that that's not who this is? Oh, we don't know that. The White House said that. It's not the White House that said, it's not just the White House. The White House just pointed out that this is true, that this is an old email, that this has the information in it already. Are we just going to pretend this is? But that's what they're doing. And this, you watch her wheels spin. Like the video version of this is just fantastic for those who are watching, and you can see what I'm talking about here. It's just amazing. The wheels spinning. She's realizing that she's not on. Clearly, that she thought that CNN was probably going to be MSNBC, and then MSNBC probably would just ask no questions whatsoever. Like, if you go listen, I guarantee you there's probably multiple MSNBC clips, you see clips right now talking about, oh my God, the victim. Oh my goodness, the victim, but the victim is Virginia Giuffre, and they're not going to say that. But just watch the rest of this here and listen to this woman, because she just keeps going, and it gets more and more and more uncomfortable as it goes. It's just amazing.
And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I think it's convenient that the White House is trying to choose an alibi that they think. And, you know, if you read the email, this is private correspondence between Maxwell and Epstein. Why does the White House know at all who Donald Trump was hanging out with at Jeffrey Epstein's house, who was one of the sex trafficking accusers, right? Like, this should be raising every hair on the back of your neck right now. We don't even know that that is who is named in this email. Secondly, whether or not Virginia Giuffre has accused the president of wrongdoing, what I'd like to say to the American people is believe your eyes. We have all seen the photographs of Donald Trump with underage girls sitting on his lap. We know that he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for more than a decade. We know that he has not complied with our congressional subpoena of the DOJ files, and we know that he is named multiple times in those files. So believe your eyes, believe your ears. And my question is, if they were not engaged in an elaborate smokescreen and cover-up, then why the hell is the president calling and threatening members of Congress for them to not take a vote on releasing these files after these files have already been subpoenaed? They are trying to bury this, and the president is personally trying to stop Congress from asking for these files again.
And I do want to ask you about that, because it is unusual that Lauren Boebert is there for this meeting. But first, just to really zoom in on this redacted name here. So are you of the belief that the victim that Epstein is alleging Trump spent time with at his house is someone besides Virginia Giuffre, or could be someone besides Virginia Giuffre?
I do not have information that would allow me to answer that question. What I know is that we've received 23,000 documents from the Jeffrey Epstein estate, including this email.
Okay, but then let me zero in on this real quick. So can I just ask you this? So you do not have knowledge that tells you that is Virginia Giuffre?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so explain this again to us. You received this, and it is redacted. There is no name. And so you're saying it's the White House that's saying this is Giuffre.
Yes.
And what kind of questions does that raise for you?
Well, as I said, first and foremost, we have subpoenaed these files from the White House, from the Department of Justice. We have subpoenaed financial documents. We have subpoenaed the estate. And thus far, Donald Trump and the White House have refused to disclose the DOJ documents that are clear on what the FBI investigated, who was facing potential criminal charges, who was implicated, why the president is named in those files. So we don't know what is in the White House, DOJ, FBI files. But what we do know is that the estate has been producing documents in tranches, and they have been redacting those documents as they have been sent to the committee. I have not reviewed the original transmittal that came from the estate, but my understanding is that in that 23,000-page document production that happened over the weekend, that there were redactions produced by the estate. And so it is my understanding that it is the White House's response. They are trying to claim that it is Virginia Giuffre, and we do not know if that is the case or not. And while we can ask the estate to verify that, I don't have that information in front of me right now.
Okay, and back to Congresswoman Lauren Boebert.
So, again, you just watch this woman spin her wheels, and she says, my favorite line in that whole bit there is, she says, what kind of questions does that raise for you? The fact that they're saying that this is obviously not, that we know that it's Virginia Giuffre. And she's like, I don't have that information. I don't know that information, except the whole internet has it. Everybody has it. Okay, it's like... Like, you picked a topic of all things that they could really, zero in and decide to, make their hay on, make this the biggest deal in the world. Of all the things you could do, picking something that has had years, and I mean years, there are entire YouTube channels, there are entire divisions of the internet that are devoted to the Epstein scandal, okay? This is one of the most scrutinized, one of the most just zeroed in. Everybody that knows anything knows everything about this case, okay? I guarantee you there's entire groups on YouTube that have only done Epstein. That is all they have done for years on end. And you just said, well, we don't know. You just made yourselves look stupid. I mean, this is all this has done. This is just, you have made yourselves look like fools. And you have only proven what Trump has said from the beginning, that this is a bunch of nonsense hoax from the Democrats because this is all they can do. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up in here, which is super important when it comes to this, is that not only did she lie about the fact that she didn't know who this was, and oh my God, it's just the White House claiming that. It's the White House that says that. I mean, it couldn't be anybody else. Now, she also mentioned that, that they're trying to block what they're bringing out, except here you go. Listen to what Burchett says about the Democrats in Congress, specifically on this issue.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. Just left the House floor, and I tried to do a UC, unanimous consent, of tried to get the Epstein files, get it straight to the floor, just to cut out all this nonsense. And, and the Democrats blocked it, oddly enough. Now here they've had it for 4 years, and they... obviously, if there's something there about Trump, they would have released it. And now they're all, let's get it out, let's get it out. Well, I just made a motion to bring it straight to the dadgum floor, and they blocked it. So this is politics. It has nothing to do with what's doing what's right. I mean, it's Washington, D.C. to a T.
So there you go. So the Democrats that are claiming, oh my goodness, we can't let this, we need the Epstein files, and they blocked a new release of it. So he just wanted to bring it straight to the floor, release everything, and they were like, nope, we're not going to do that. So, I mean, can it get any worse? Can they make this look any stupider for them? They release something that is old, that people have already seen before, that they know is not true, and they intentionally remove the name, so everyone, oh my goodness, look, the victim. Oh, the victim that we know the name of. But the better part about it is that the context, again, of what I said at the beginning of this, is the context is what's more important. The dog that hasn't barked. It's not, if you're referring to someone that knows intimately of the scenario, if you know insider information, right? Something like someone on the inside that might speak to the police, what do you call them? You call them a rat. You don't call them a dog. A dog that hasn't barked is someone that hasn't alerted the authorities, that should have alerted the authorities or something. And then this only corroborates every piece of story that you've heard about Trump being the one that has brought the complaints out in the first place. There's a bunch of reporting about this, and it's been kind of speculated that Trump was one of the ones that helped bring Epstein down in the first place. And this seems to me that this corroborates that whole story. So the Democrats here have managed to yet again spin this whole narrative up, scream about it forever, and they've done absolutely nothing. I mean, it's just another one of these ridiculous hoaxes. Their base, and there's a couple people talking about their base that doesn't know that. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, if their base, like, you're not going to win over the radicals that just want to go out there and scream that Trump is a pedophile, okay? You're not going to win those people over. They don't care. They could tell them that tomorrow that he's a space alien and they'd just buy it. I mean, they wouldn't care. These people don't have any logic to them at all. They hate Trump so much. He's the most evil, orange, terrible person that's ever existed. So it doesn't matter what they call him. He's a pedophile. He's a Nazi. He's everything that can be. I really wonder, what are they going to do when you get to the next president, like the next Republican candidate, right? So Trump is literally Hitler. Like, he's literally Hitler. He's literally a pedophile. Like, he's literally all these things according to the Democrats. So what exactly are you going to call Vance? Is he going to be double Hitler? Like, I mean, what are we going to do here? Like, what is the next logical step from the Nazi pedophile, which is what they've tried to label Trump as? Like, you've got to somehow make the next Republican candidate worse. So how are you going to accomplish that? Are we going to have mega Hitler? Like, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, it's just amazing to me that they have managed to spin so hard on this issue, and then the first thing that they were going to release was going to be the hardest hitting thing. Like, that's always going to be how this works. So this is it. This is all they had, and that's it. I love it. I love it. It's just such a disservice that we've had to waste so much time on this. But I hope that this finally, all the people that have been screaming about Epstein for months on end, I hope that anybody that thinks that has anything to do with Trump within these after watching this display of incompetence from the Democrats, I hope everyone realizes what Trump was saying when he says this is a hoax, because this is the definition of a hoax. I mean, this is the most obvious of all hoaxes. I mean, there's no way to read that other than that. Guys, I brought up both Jack Tron and Christopher Marino, two of my co-hosts on this show. What's up, guys? What do you have to say about the Democrats on this ridiculous ordeal that they've decided to unfold on themselves?
Chris, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the timing is very clear. You notice that as soon as there was a release of documents tied to the Clinton Foundation, they immediately came out. It suddenly came out with these emails with that talk about Michael Wolff, coordinating with Jeffrey Epstein to shake down President Trump in the lead up to the 2016 election. That's what I got out of this email.
Exactly.
So I actually have a different take on the dog that didn't bark. Okay. So I actually don't think that they were talking about him necessarily referring to him as not leaking to the police. I actually think that reference was that he didn't bite. He didn't take the plant. Like, he didn't touch any of the girls. He didn't flirt with any of the girls. Everybody else did. Right?
Well, but even then, Chris, just to think about that for a minute then. So if that was the case, if that's true on your analysis on it, if that's true, then it would be the same concept as what I was saying.
No, it doesn't.
I'm saying it would only be the exact same comment, right? Like, exactly. He didn't take the bait that they offered, right? So he didn't do what they would, like, if they didn't go with the girls, didn't do that, and then he would be the dog because he didn't go and bark and tell everybody about it. Is what that's right. So it just plays the same thing.
Exactly, and so and here's the thing, and this is what really annoys me about the neophyte minds of these zombie leftists. Okay. And of course, our garbage media. Although she did a great job of cornering this gal from New Mexico as if she's gonna know. You know what I mean? Actually, you know what she should know? She should know what happened at Bill Richardson's ranch in New Mexico, her home state. But she don't want to talk about that because he was a Democrat. And but I can tell you there are multiple Democrats that would not get in pictures with Bill Richardson. And so because of what happened at that ranch. My point is that
but they would get in pictures with Ed Buck.
Yeah, well, he was. Yeah, well, I mean, anyway, the point is that if you look at the narrative, everybody knew Trump was not cooperating with whatever Epstein was doing removed him from Mar-a-Lago. Epstein claims in the email he was never a member. Bullcrap. But then he says, he asked Ghislaine to stop, consistent with all the stories.
Yep.
Speaker Johnson leaks or says, in an interview, he says that he was even a informant for the FBI when it came to Epstein, confirming what everybody already knew, that he was likely giving information to the FBI as it pertained to Epstein because he didn't like him. But the more important part is what Sammy the Bull says about President Trump, because it's a consistent story. So here's a guy, Sammy the Bull, that definitely knew all these pedophiles, definitely knew he was a gangster. He was the gangster of gangsters. And he says the one guy in New York that couldn't be touched, that couldn't be shook down, was Donald Trump. And so he's been consistent the entire time. It's these corrupt, perverted Democrats that are currently in office that are the ones that are trying to do anything possible to repeat and rinse the same cycle over and over again, because they believe that they're going to get the majority. And as soon as they get the majority, they're going to use these emails and whatever else they need to fabricate, like they did last time, to try to impeach the president of the United States again. And this is how worthless these people are, Walter. This is how they literally, I posted on it, they have ran on Donald Trump for 10 years because they can't stand on any of their policies because they're so dark and perverted and out of touch and just crazy nonsense, that if they had to run on it, their brand, what's left of their brand, would be completely broken.
Yep. Well, I mean, look, I just think it's amazing that this is the way that this is their big thing. Like this is what they've been talking about for months at this point. They've been talking about it endlessly. This is all they talk about. Oh my God, Trump is the most evil and horrible person of all time. He is definitely in these Epstein files. And then this is the best they've got. This email that we've all seen already. Anybody that's paid attention to the Epstein stuff has already seen this email, and it's with a victim that not only did she exonerate Trump, she supported him. She supported Trump. And in fact, I've got the clip from Giuffre. I think Jacktron, is this Giuffre clip here? Is this the one that mentions that she's like supports Trump in it? Is that the one that has that in there?
Yeah.
But listen, but really quick, you guys remember the press that the guy had with all the victims, right? And he says in the press conference, and they say that Donald Trump even paid for some of their legal fees. So the Democrats expect us to believe that the guy who's consistently known for not taking the bait and the guy who paid for the legal fees of their victims.
Chris,
and
wait. I don't remember. When did he say that he paid for the legal fees? Was it that clip with the defender?
the attorney.
Listen, so the bigger point here is going into the Giuffre comment here, and this is why this is a good clip, Jacktron, that you posted earlier, and this is worth playing here because, again, this is the so-called victim that they're talking about. Okay, so let me just go ahead and play this here.
October, weeks before the presidential election, she was a huge Trump fan. Two reasons for that. One, she had met Trump on numerous occasions because she worked at Mar-a-Lago Spa in Florida, which he owns. And her father also worked there and knew Trump pretty well. So she was introduced to Trump. He was kind to her. The second reason she wanted Trump to be president was because he campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. And she was excited about that. So, yes, we talked about Trump a lot.
As a crusader to release the Epstein files, in that sense.
She was very excited that he had made that one of the main planks of his campaign. And she felt validated by it.
But she never talked about him in any sense that he was involved in any of this.
No, he was not, as far as she knew. And again, she was there for 2+ years. But as far as she knew, he was not involved in the ring of trafficking that Epstein was working.
So again, just to make this point crystal clear here, this is the one that they're claiming in the email. even though they claim it didn't happen and that this, well, we don't know. We have no idea who's in that email. That could be anybody, but it is her. And we already have the emails, and that's been out there for years. Okay, it's such a pathetic attempt. I've said this a couple times. We deserve better psyops. Like, come on, guys. Like, we bring the A game. Like, bring something more interesting than this. I mean, I thought for sure that by the time they got through all this, there was going to be some ridiculous, like, attorney to attorney email between two DOJ people saying how much they think Trump's definitely part of this or something. Like, that's where I thought this was going to end up. I thought there was going to be some ridiculous version of this where there's like, two of the people that were the DOJ members underneath the Biden administration that were probably part of prosecuting Trump were saying how much he was implicated in the Epstein files. That's where my mind went when this started happening. I was like, look, oh, that's why. Because within those files, I guarantee you there's something like that. There's something like that in there. And that's why that Trump doesn't want to talk about it or whatever it is or whatever the reason is. But no, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's this. They're claiming that Virginia Giuffre, the woman who supported Trump, she talked about how much she liked Trump. She said he never did anything wrong. This is the victim. But I just love it. They keep coming out here. Oh, my goodness, the White House says that this is it. But that's not it. We don't know that. We don't know that for sure. But everybody does. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's so lazy. But it's, again, just proves the point a million times over that here's the hoax. This is the hoax that Trump was talking about. So I guess we can just move on from, what their stupid discussion on Epstein, because this is just not going to change anything. No one is going to be moved by this. Now, whether or not, and I like that Burchett even said that he tried to bring it straight to the floor to have the whole thing released, and they blocked that. That kind of blows their entire narrative out on that, doesn't it? I mean, it's kind of amazing to me. But so there's a couple people that are commenting here asking, is this some sort of crazy baiting game? Listen, I don't know, okay? I don't know if it was some big baiting game or if it was Trump being, trying to play some long-term strategy here. To be honest with you, what I think it is what I talked about at the beginning of the show was that, Trump, whenever they push him on something, he responds the same way every single time. Screw you, I'm not doing anything. I hate you, like you're hoaxers, you're liars, I don't care. He pushes back insanely hard and never relents on it. And it always seems to work out for him every time he does that. So, I was never concerned about this story when it came to Trump at all. Okay. Now, what else is in the rest of the Epstein files? Who knows? But I'll tell you right now, if there was anything in there that implicated Trump, they would have already released it. And they damn sure would have already released it now that they're trying to get some more of that out and they're starting to leak some more stuff out of it. Go ahead, Jack Tron.
Well, there was also, I think, another reason that they decided to release this today, besides what Chris said about the Clinton Foundation. It was announced today that Cash got the Chinese government to prohibit those 13 compounds that got fentanyl to make fentanyl. But then there was also, of course, today was the end of the government shutdown. And they know that all that momentum that they just had from the elections left once the shutdown ended. So now they just needed another way to rile up their base after they just felt that they had lost.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what their idea is from the Democrats here, but I'll tell you right now, like, to me, it almost looks like this ends up being a win for Trump because Trump's narrative, like, Trump's been having some issues with PR recently, okay? We discussed this yesterday on the show. There's been some problems recently. I've been not happy with some of the statements that have been coming out. I'm really not happy with what's going on around the FBI. I'm just generally not happy with the FBI at all. But this, it wins. It goes back in the opposite direction because you just lied. You just lied so blatantly. And the one thing I think of the American public right now hates more than anything, they despise inauthentic behavior and they despise blatant lying because it happens so often underneath the Biden administration where they just gaslit constantly. That's all they talked about. They just gaslit. And at the end of it, none of it was ever true. And it just pissed people off. So this to me looks like this is going to swing back in the opposite direction in terms of public opinion. There's no way that people are going to be like, oh yeah, this is it. This is Trump. Trump's down now. We've got him. Like, no, that's not what this is. Okay. This doesn't look like that at all. It looks to me like what Trump said multiple months ago is now true yet again, that you guys are just using some giant hoax to try and hamstring his agenda and trying to get control of a good PR win. That's what this looks like at the end of this to me.
Yeah, well, I think this is also what President Trump was talking about. So they released the files. The name for Virginia Giuffre is redacted, and for some other stuff is redacted. But everything that was redacted was already unredacted in court filings, and they're pretending as if they didn't redact it. That's how the files were sent to them. And the bottom line is everybody worth their salt knows that this Democratic Party, in the first attempt of impeachments, literally admitted into evidence on the record in Congress doctored evidence. They literally put in fake evidence, fake photos, fake headlines. These kinds of things happened, and so it reminds me of the moment where President Trump, then candidate Trump, was facing some resistance on a couple of things, right? And he had all these indictments going against him, and it was like 900,000 indictments. And the Democrats were, we're gonna put him in jail. We're gonna put him, and everyone was kind of like, whatever, And then they actually got a mugshot of him, and his popularity just started to skyrocket,
Yep.
right? Because people were like, hold on a second, you clowns, you know what I mean? Like, you actually got a mugshot. They made him counterculture, t-shirts, hats, the Trump dance, everything started going viral because of how these losers overplayed their hand. And this, I think, is a situation in which they've overplayed their hand again. So by putting this evidence out there and then putting this redacted, I guess would be the term for it, even though it was already unredacted, but putting this information out there and pretending as if Trump was like this pervert with Jeffrey Epstein after 10 years. Oh my goodness, we finally figured it out. Even though they had control of the DOJ for the last 4 years, they're I guess they're going to have to figure out how to explain how this didn't come out in 4 years while you controlled the DOJ. And so bottom line is the American people can see through the BS, and like you said, Walter, they don't like being lied to. They're tired of being lied to and tired of people who are not authentic. And on this instance, they pivot back, overplayed their hand. It's going to backfire on Trump. I don't think Pam Bondi did him any justice early on with these folders and binders and that kind of stuff. I think that was a misstep on her part, to be honest with you. And I don't think that was wholeheartedly her fault. I think that there's one specific influencer online that I think in some ways set her up for that. But she hasn't done him any favors with that. But I think in the end, like, this is what Trump's talking about. They've redoctored evidence. There's evidence in there that they know was put in there that was not even in the actual record. And I think it's going to backfire on them.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think it's already backfired. I mean, the reaction from this is everybody looking at him going, okay, so you just lied again. I mean, it's like, it's the same stupid thing. It's like, it was like when the Wall Street Journal released that ridiculous article claiming that Trump drew a picture and then signed it at the bottom, and then the signature wasn't even the same as his normal signatures, and then they tried to claim it was, and then, but what? Like, I mean, none of this stuff makes any sense, and no one buys it. Like, how quickly, that was such a great, like, day on the right, at least. There was such a hysterical day when they tried to claim that was happening, right? So the Wall Street Journal says, well, we've got this thing, and then they release it, and everyone's like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is so ridiculous looking. No one buys this. No one buys it. Like, I mean, you can't lie to the American people like that anymore. It just does not work. It just doesn't work anymore. You don't have full institutional capture of the media anymore. And with X being opened up, people just walk right over top of it, especially because there's so many people that, like I said, because this is such a focused and like zeroed in story for so many people, it just does not work for them. It's not a great look. It doesn't look, it did not go over well. Jack John, you have your hand up. You can go ahead and hop in whenever on this.
Oh, I don't have my hand up.
No, it shows up for me.
So Walter, here's what on a personal note, what I think is a bigger story. And even if obviously I support the president of the United States. I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest presidents in American history, if, top 3 in American history, if he's able to accomplish his full agenda this second term, right? Given all the wins from his first term. But I think this is the bigger story, which is these emails, the few emails that we've seen released, is with Michael Wolff and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Well, Michael Wolff, if you guys don't recall, 10 years ago, was the October surprise guy. Remember, he released this book and tried to take down Trump's campaign with with kind of this book about Trump and whatever. And then in the lead up to 2020, Michael Wolff shows back up. I think it was on the Epstein saga, but I could be wrong. And now we know that this guy was literally coordinating how to blackmail the president, the now president of the United States. That's what these emails show. That
Yep.
Epstein could get political capital with Trump should he win. And I mean, like, that's exactly what, and that's almost verbatim. That's actually almost word for word what the email says. So I think Michael Wolff is in a little bit of hot water with these email releases, and I think that's a bigger story.
I mean, to me, I think the funnier part about it though is that it like there's no way to really read this other than it looks to me like this is corroborates all of the other stories about Trump in this case in the first place. Like all the stories that Trump has essentially like. I don't even know if Trump specifically himself has come out and said, I was working with him. I know I'd heard it myself that he'd thrown this guy out and that all this had happened. Like, I know I'd heard that, but this seems to be exactly in line with what Trump has said from the beginning on this. So, like, pretending that it's something else is just hysterical to me, but that's the Democrats. I mean, they just want to, they don't care if it's true or not. They don't care if they have to lie about it or not. They just want to get their win. They want to get their win, and they definitely didn't on this one. This is not a win for them. There's nothing about this that was a win. And now you've got people like Jasmine Crockett out here coming out and talking about this as if she's going to be the voice that's, the great orator that she is, coming out to talk about this. I mean, this is what her statement on was this, and it's the same line. They're all saying, "Oh, it was redacted. It's super redacted. Definitely redacted. We got them like that."
This is an email from April 2nd, 2011. Republicans are saying that victim is Virginia Giuffre. As you know, she died by suicide. She's been very outspoken victim of Jeffrey Epstein. Here's the email right here on your screen. She wrote a book, as you know, and she did not accuse him of any wrongdoing. What do you make of that? And can you confirm that?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's redacted who the victim is, so I won't necessarily take the Republicans' word on who it is that's redacted. And I don't know why they would necessarily redact someone's name who is deceased at this point.
The Democrats did that, though. The Democrats redacted.
No. I understand,
Okay,
but I'm just saying, like, our biggest concern is to actually make sure that we are protecting victims. And obviously, she wrote a book. She told her truth.
So, did you catch it there? Did you catch it? She said, well, but the Democrats said that, and she went, oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that. I understand that much. Yeah, well, that did happen, actually. We did redact it. Like, just, if you guys are going to lie, at least lie better than this. Like, I mean, like, come on. This is what I'm talking about. We need better psyops. Like, this is so pathetic. It's such a pathetic attempt. Like, come on.
I take her word for it over the chick from New Mexico. That's the crazy thing.
But that's the butter part that she just said. She said the opposite of what the person from New Mexico said. That's the great part. It's like, because they're all lying, because they cannot keep a story straight, because it's such blatant falsehoods, they couldn't keep a story straight for 24 hours. Like, the Democrats are the ones who redacted it. Oh, yeah, I do know that. We did do that, actually. We know we redacted. So if you redacted it, that means you knew who the name was. Like, so Jasmine Crockett in her brilliance, and we got more to talk about on Crockett this evening because, everyone, the future of the Democrat Party is what Jasmine Crockett is. No questions there.
2028 presidential candidate.
That's right. 100%. That is 100% accurate that she is going to be the future of the Democrat Party. But it's just amazing to me. It's just amazing. She just completely blew the whole narrative apart in less than 24 hours. Less than 24 hours, we've got a very obvious result that they knew it was redacted, they knew who the name was, and they did it anyway. Amazing.
Yeah, Walter, and I'm also going to go on a limb here and say this. I would not be shocked, now that she's been drawn out, if she ends up in a different state, in a different district, put back in Congress.
That wouldn't be surprised. I mean, listen to me, I've always kind of assumed that Jasmine Crockett's not going anywhere. And I didn't really think she was going to be one of the ones that she leaves. Like, I don't think so. I don't think that was going to be the case. But to stay on the Crockett here for a minute, so there's not really much more to talk about with the Epstein stuff on this. I mean, the walls are closing in, the world's ending. They've got him. It's over for Trump. The base is going to fall apart. Everyone's going to hate him. The presidency is over, but none of that's true, and no one cares because you lied, and you lied so obviously that everyone saw through it in about 20 minutes. I mean, I don't even know how long it took. There's I know that there was a couple internet sleuths that within an hour, I know it was within an hour that they just saw right through this. So I don't know how long it really took at the end of it, but it was not very long. I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah, let's see here. I feel like they did a decent job countering the Epstein psyop today. Yeah, I mean, the Trump administration didn't have to do a whole lot. The base did that on their own. The base, all the people that were paying attention to the story did that. Okay, and that's why it's so funny to me because the Trump administration had just had some missteps on their PR recently, and then this comes out, and then everyone's like, "What are you doing? This is why we hate the Democrats. This stuff right here is why everyone hates you." So just failure on all fronts on that. Okay, guys, before we move on here, make sure you guys share this show out. This is the Political Theater. I'm your host, Walter Kurt. Thank you guys for being here this evening. Make sure you guys follow both of my co-hosts if you are listening in the X space. If you guys have something to say, you can always put it in the comments in all the live streams. If you guys are listening to us on Rumble, on YouTube, wherever you guys may be listening to the show, if you're listening on WCDispatch.com, make sure you guys share the link out so people know that we are live, and we are here every night at 9 p.m. So thank you guys for showing up. If you got something to say and you want to join us up on the show, you need to go to x.com and go to @WCDispatch, and you can actually join the show live, and you can have commentary. You can have something to say. You can always come up here on stage and join me. I usually go segment by segment, and I'll bring people up towards the end of it. So there is one person who wants to come up here, so I'll see what they have to say. And then we're going to move on, and I want to talk a little bit more about Jasmine Crockett, the future of the Democrat Party. So let's see here. BX, what is your name here? BX something just came up on stage. What's up, BX? Or BK, I can't remember what the name was. I just approved them coming up, so I can't see them now. No? No? Okay. Well, never mind. Okay, so let's move on here then to talk more about Jasmine Crockett, because, again, Jasmine Crockett, if you didn't just notice, she just completely blew their entire narrative apart in, less than 24 hours, which is not surprising. But according to, the Democrats, Jasmine Crockett is just brilliance, absolute brilliance. She is a perfect orator. She is the future. And just listen to what this guy has to say about Jasmine Crockett here. And I just love this because there's another clip right after it that just makes this just hysterical. Not let alone the fact that she just blew apart their Epstein their Epstein lie in less than 24 hours.
Jasmine Crockett is actually what the Democrats should be leaning into, because she is a phenomenal messenger. And some people just got it. Some people just have a different anointing on them. You don't know why certain people, cause folks to gravitate towards them. To me, it's more than Jasmine Crockett having that moment with Marjorie Taylor Greene when she was bad bleach body or whatever it is. If you watch her in these congressional meetings, she's always on message about something. I was watching her yesterday and she was, just blatant. She was like, yo, Donald Trump is racist and this whole administration is racist and it starts at the top. And she just broke down example after example of why she just said what she said. And you heard them gasp at first, but then she broke down example of why she feels the way she feels. But it was all rooted in how, they just don't care about what's going on with the poor and disenfranchised. They don't care that y'all not getting y'all checks, during the government shutdown. They don't care that the SNAP benefits, are going to be gone on November 1st. They don't care about none of that.
They care about that ballroom.
And just the fact that she was able to articulate that in that 3-minute clip that I saw, and it was so powerful and so provocative, and you understood what the root of her issue was. And she got you by just saying, Donald Trump is racist and this administration is racist and let me tell you why. And then you get into all of the issues. I'm like, you need somebody like Jasmine Crockett. She is the most effective messenger that the Democratic Party has right now. And they need to be using her as a Trojan horse. And you know what?
So, yes, I agree. 1,000%. Every word that he just said is accurate. Don't tell them anything else. Everyone shut up. Let them do it. Please. Yes. Go with it. Don't say anything. Yes, I want everyone to remember this. Nothing should be said at all about that guy. That guy is right. Let him win. Yes, 100%. Jasmine Crockett is the most effective, perfect orator of the Democrat position to date. She is better than Barack Obama. She is better than any top-line Democrat that has ever existed. Spartacus himself holds no candle to Jasmine Crockett and her ability to get a message out. Make sure that is remembered. Everyone needs to keep that going, okay? Yes. Don't argue with him. Don't fight with them. Let him do it. Please. Put her everywhere. I want her on she needs to be at the top of the 2028 ticket. Like, go with it, please. Please put her out there. Please do it. Like, I can't believe that, it's amazing to me. Listen, does anyone hear this and go, well, wow, I listened to that Jasmine Crockett clip last week and I was moved. Moved. What did she say? Trump's racist. Oh, wonderful. We haven't heard that one before. That's new. How'd she come up with that on her own? She said Trump's racist and Trump doesn't like you and that Trump's super bad and we don't like Trump and Trump's orange and Trump's stupid and Trump's bad and a Nazi and Trump's fascist and okay. Is that it? This is the same thing and this is what we think is the perfect messaging? Please, by all means, do it. Listen to me. Do it. Do it right now. I want you to do it. Please do it so no one correct them. Okay? No one correct them at all. We need to make sure that Jasmine Crockett is the future of the Democrat Party because I need more of this. I need more of this all the time.
It's really a good question as to why a member of Congress needs to pay for security out of money that they go and raise instead of focusing on making sure that they use that money to educate voters about why it is that their candidacy matters. I do think that it does people like me a disservice when you are so outspoken. And then what happens is instead of you being able to put all your dollars into campaigning, instead, you've got to do things like pay for your security. But I kind of value my life, so it is what it is. And it is what it is.
Yes. Yeah. Please keep her at the top of the ticket. No one correct them. Okay. Listen to me. I don't want a single person to come out here and say that Jasmine Crockett's stupid. Okay. She is brilliant. She is brilliant. I want her everywhere. I mean, just more of this. More of this stuff. This is what we need. We just need more of this everywhere. We need her and AOC all over the place. Keep them out there. Keep them up there. No one say a word. That's the only way you respond to this. Don't say anything bad about them. Every time they talk about Jasmine Crockett and how great she is, remind them that they're right. Oh, yes. Yes, she's brilliant. Run her. Run her in 2028. Put her on the ticket with AOC. That'll just be perfect. Yes, I don't see it. She's just absolutely brilliant. Everything about her is unbelievably smart. I've never seen a better orator for the Democrat position. I mean, just to represent the whole Democrat Party as a whole. I mean, there is no better. There never has been. She is perfect at what she does, and no one should say otherwise at all, ever. It's just great stuff, man. I love it. And it only gets worse for this. There's more for the Crockett scenario here. So this was a clip that was on earlier today that I think is worth playing here because this is where, if you notice what she was talking about, she's talking about how she doesn't want to have to pay for her own personal security. She doesn't want to have to pay for that. She wants to make sure that the taxpayers, she wants you to pay for it. I mean, and it turns out that Jasmine Crockett has a pretty high spending bill for the other things that she does. So listen to this.
The hog right now. And for a woman who is openly flirting with trying to run for Texas Senate seat against Senator either John Cornyn or whoever comes out of that primary, you are seeing a woman who's not spending an awful lot of time in Texas. That whole list of places she's been living high on the hog, I didn't see anything mentioning Dallas or Houston
Up in an
or
Amarillo.
Laredo or Amarillo. Right. She's all across the country making sure that she is getting taken care of, that her nails look fabulous, and that she is sounding off however she wants to. The hog.
So there you go. If you guys are just listening, what they're listing here are all of the different spending, all of Jasmine Crockett's expenses. And she's got the, $4,500 bills at the Ritz-Carlton, $75,000 in expenses on her travel across the country. None of them are in her home state. None of them are in her district. But she's got, Ritz-Carlton, all the different places. It's pretty funny. And then she's out there talking about how she needs to make sure that we pay for her personal security too. I'm telling you guys, I've never seen such a great candidate. She's perfect. I love her. She's amazing. No one say a word. Everyone shut up. Okay, that should be what you tell your friends. That's what you should be until the primary is over and we've put her somewhere towards the top of the Democrat leadership or something. Like, no one say anything. Okay, that's the only thing everyone needs to remember. It's just great stuff. It's great stuff.
And nobody ever say that Charlemagne the God isn't on bended knee to the Democratic Party carrying their water. If you guys remember, he carried their water the entire final stretch of the campaign. He carried Kamala's water, went on tour, had her on all this different stuff, and then he got called out for it because obviously she was blown to smithereens. Her campaign election numbers were blown to smithereens, and Donald Trump swept everything, swept the Electoral College, swept every swing state, swept the popular vote, swept the youth vote. I mean, so Charlemagne the God is just a clown. But my response was the same. Charlemagne, please make her the champion of the Democrats.
Yes.
Please. But I will say this, though. It would be interesting to find out who her security was.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'd like to know who her security was.
That's what ended Cori Bush's congressional career. It was her fiance. And so it would be interesting to find out what Jasmine Crockett's security detail was. And even more interesting, given her high life that she likes to operate off of, would be what else is she doing with the tax dollars in her office? I mean, so these are all things that can be transparent, that can be sunshine requested. All these things she has to file, and this is where she's going to get hung up. This is where these Democrats always get hung up, is that they don't have someone as savvy. So the thing about AOC is she has people who are savvy around her, right? Like that kind of help run the operation, so to speak. Whereas,
listen, AOC for all her flaws, AOC is actually a reasonably talented politician. Like in the ability to speak and get a message out, even if it's stupid. She still manages to sound okay when she says it. Jasmine Crockett does not have that ability. Okay, Jasmine Crockett does not have that same talent. Okay, she is not as talented as AOC. I would say that, and just in terms of just analysis on it. But this is another reason that I shouldn't have said that. Jasmine Crockett's better than AOC. Actually, she's far better. I'm sorry, I meant to say that. AOC can't hold a candle to Jasmine Crockett in terms of being able to get a message out. So let's make sure that we get AOC as VP and Crockett as the president for the ticket going forward. That sounds like a good idea to me. So let's keep it at that instead.
Yeah, I didn't know that she announced for Texas Senate. So I don't think did she announce? Does anybody know that?
That I hadn't heard. Who is she running? Who would she be running against? It wouldn't be
Ken Paxton.
Yeah, it'd be against Ken Paxton then, I guess, right? Paxton's going to crush her. That's not even going to be close.
Yeah, if that was the case, I mean, who would her primary be, like Beto O'Rourke or somebody?
Okay, I hope they bring Beto. Please bring Beto back. I want Beto. I want the return of Beto O'Rourke. I want a fifth try with Beto. Okay, listen, I want the man that is destined to hop on every single piece of furniture nearby him just so he can speak to you. I need Beto back. I love Beto O'Rourke. He is one of my favorites. I am enjoying every single bit of that. He is just the best. So I hope that I don't understand why they keep doing this to people though. Beto O'Rourke, what do you think, guys? Do you think for the next Georgia governorship, are they going to run Stacey Abrams again? Do you think they'll give her a third shot? President of the world, president of the universe, Stacey Abrams. You think so?
I thought she was already governor.
Oh, that's right. She is. Well, no, she's president of the universe. Remember, she was on Star Trek. So, we don't need to worry about what she does there. She's got a whole universe to take care of, guys. Even though, I loved it that I hope so. That would just be the best. That would be so great if they put her back up there and she runs again. And I heard someone was telling me oh no, there's going to be some other person. And somebody would be I doubt it. I bet you Stacey Abrams is at the top of that ticket and she's going to do it again. That, my goodness.
You know what's so wild, Walter? Is if she actually announced and ran for the Democrat nomination for governor or Senate in Texas, she would likely win the primary, and that's a great thing for Republicans that run against the Democrats. It's a great thing. This, by the way, also the strategy that Republicans had a lot of times when it came to redistricting. So, like in the past, when the census would redistrict, they would always look at who's the craziest in that state on the Democrat side and do everything they could to make sure they stayed in office while drawing other people out.
Yeah, well, there's a couple things about like when we're coming into the 26 and everything here. There's some people that still believe that even though we're the Trump administration right now is having some missteps on PR, and that there is a belief that's still happening that there's no way that Trump can turn it around, that there's no way that anything, that we'll never reclaim the base, we'll never be able to reclaim anything, we'll never win ever again. And this is because they're still flying high after the Virginia and New Jersey race, which, look, I did not sugarcoat it at all to anybody. I thought this was bad. I thought it looked bad. I didn't think we performed well. It was a huge turnout drop. Bill Mitchell's talking about this. I mentioned this a couple days ago that, according to the polling data, with the youth vote has swung away from Trump. But here's the thing about the youth vote. The youth vote is easy to recapture if they can. Okay, like it's not like we are political lifetimes away from us actually getting into these midterms, really getting into the midterms. Like if you think that there's no way that we'll be able to do anything, I don't buy it at all. Okay, like and here's one of the most amazing things. The midterm, or according to the polling data that Bill Mitchell has, and if you guys don't know who Bill Mitchell is the guy who founded Rasmussen Polling, and now he's an independent pollster. According to that data, the youth vote, or essentially not just the youth vote, people under 40 in the United States that voted for Trump and like Trump, apparently their approval rating for the president was 60% when Trump was wrecking the government with Doge. They loved it. They loved every minute of it. They were all fans of it. They loved every second of that. And then when that stopped, then the approval rating started dropping rapidly after that. It was only after we stopped destroying the government, which is not a great thing for the Democrats if they're thinking that Trump going after the government was unpopular. There's something that is reasonably universal amongst most Americans that I talk to nowadays, is that they despise the government. Like they all hate the government. Everybody hates the government. They don't like it one way or the other, whether or not you're gonna lean into the Democrat side of it or you're gonna lean into the Republican side of it. Everybody hates the system, as you want to call it. They don't like the system at all. And when you start tearing the system down, people are happy about it. So that means some bad things for the Democrats, because if Trump just cranks it all up again and starts going full bore, then will his popularity return? It's very possible. I mean, if Trump starts really moving the agenda forward, starts ignoring judges completely, starts completely blowing over top of these people and ignoring this stuff, it's very possible that his approval ratings go right back up. So, don't count yourselves already won, Democrats, claiming that we're just going to lose the midterms, that there's no way you're going to flip. Like, I had someone trying to tell me that they're going to flip the Ohio governorship. Like that, guys. Vivek has secured all of the unions in Ohio, all of them, not some of them, not one or two of them, all of the public major unions, or all of the private unions in Ohio now back Vivek for governor. Like, he's going to blow that race out of the water. That's not even going to be close. Let alone the fact that he already has massive amounts of money in the fundraising and can self-finance for a huge portion of that. So I don't even know if the Democrats are going to spend a lot of money in Ohio. I doubt it, to be honest with you, because their option is Amy Acton, which may be the most unpopular person in the state, maybe, like, ever. I mean, like, this is, and for those who don't know anything about Ohio politics, Amy Acton is she was the COVID czar under Mike DeWine. Okay, so that's who this woman is. She was the COVID czar. She was the one out there giving the COVID speeches. She was out there holding masks, telling everybody they had to wear them, standing up there next to DeWine. Guys, I still, to this day, have yard signs of this woman's face because she was so despised. Okay, so if those don't know anything about Ohio politics, during the COVID era, one of the things that happened is after DeWine, he announced his curfew. Okay, so he said everyone has to go home by 10 p.m. The first thing I did was I actually I was part of a protest outside of his house that started at 10 p.m. and ended at 5 a.m. because those were the hours of the curfew, and we called it Party at Daddy DeWine's. that was very funny. And we declared victory after 2 weeks, and he showed up on camera and he looked exhausted because he hadn't slept. That was great. We were huge fans of that. But what happened is after that was that around Ohio, these little yard signs started popping up, and they were just a picture of DeWine's face or a picture of Amy Acton's face, and it was doing the point with your fingers in the eyes, and people would stick them in bushes. So like outside of your house, like your bush, your hedge outside of your house, someone would stick one of those little bushes. It would stick one of those things in your bushes. So you'd look out your window and there's Daddy DeWine staring at you, making sure you're wearing your mask when you're inside with your family. And they did the same thing with Amy Acton. I still have those things. They were everywhere. No one forgot about that in Ohio. I promise you. Like those things were all over the place. And people despised this woman then. They despised DeWine. DeWine is incredibly unpopular. No one's going to, if you think that Amy Acton is going to be able to beat Vivek in a primary, when Vivek's going to be able to bring Vance over here, you're nuts. Okay. Like that's not going to work at all. Amy Acton's going to get blown out. So Vivek is definitely going to win in Ohio. I'm not worried about Ohio. I don't even know if I'm going to be like really focusing a whole bunch on the governorship. There's a couple of district seats and I want to see if I can flip here. But and if they think that they're going to somehow swing a plus 16 Trump state that voted for like 600,000 votes for Trump, if they're going to manage to somehow swing that back the opposite direction, you're nuts. That's just not true at all. I don't think that's even close to happening here. Especially if they start to bring some manufacturing back into Ohio and actually start to deport some people around here, that's going to age. There's not a chance. But we'll see what happens for the rest of the midterms. I'm curious to see who they run down in Georgia. Is Kemp running again? Can he run again, or is he termed out? Chris, do you know?
He's running for the United States Senate.
Okay, he's running for Senate. So who's running for governor in Georgia then? On the Republican side.
It's not going to be Marjorie Taylor Greene, I can tell you that much.
I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene would do well on a statewide seat anyway.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the story is that she wanted to run, and then Trump basically laughed her out of the room, and that's why she now hates him.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I hadn't heard that yet. I hadn't heard that. But to be honest with you, I mean, I'm not sure that's a bad thing for her because I don't know if it would work out well for Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to run for a statewide seat. Like that's the same kind of concept as someone like a Thomas Massey person running for a statewide seat. Like they may be very popular in their districts, but statewide seats are a different ball game. Like I don't think that's going to work out for them, but we'll see. But okay, I don't know.
So there's a few candidates so we got Burt Jones, who's the current lieutenant governor. We have the Chris Carr, who's Georgia's AG right now. And of course, the most famous politician, the most loved, especially in the black community, Brad Raffensperger, who seemed to outperform Herschel Walker and everybody else in the black community. He's running. Yeah. And then there's a real estate executive, Clark Dean.
Well, I don't know. There's only a couple interesting things that I think is worth paying attention to since we're covering a little bit of this here. I think that there's something interesting happened down in Florida. Have you guys seen this? The James Fishback, I think he's a hedge fund guy. He may be bucking against the establishment a little bit in Florida and trying to run up against Byron Donalds. I don't know what kind of support he's going to get for that. To be honest with you, I don't think it's very likely. I think Byron's probably going to be the candidate there. I don't really see that being a real challenge, but maybe. I mean, he's got some money, so maybe that would be a reasonable primary challenge to him. And to be honest with you, I'm not against primaries. Okay, like I don't ever have a problem with a primary. If you think you can run against them and you've got better ideas, I'd rather voters decide. We're not the Democrats. I don't like the people that just anoint candidates. So if there's somebody who wants to mount a real primary challenge, I say let them have it. Let them do it. I've got no problem with that. If there's a real candidate challenger, put them up against them and run them against them. So that way, if you think you've got better candidate and you can actually run and convince people, primaries are the way to, like, iron sharpens iron is the best way to think about that in my eyes. I don't see any problem with it, running any candidate for a primary. If you think you can mount a real defense against it, then do it. If you think you can do a better job, then run into race and see what happens. But I will say that Byron has already kind of secured a very large portion of the established Trump base, and he's Trump's candidate. And so I don't think that you're going to have much of a shot, but you can try it. I mean, well, who knows? Maybe you'll be able to sway some people, but I doubt it.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I think it's a good thing in Florida. I mean, you're talking about 25, 26 million people who live in Florida. Not that doesn't count the tourists, the 60. Well, I mean, I guess it's more. It's more like I don't know, 70 or more million that visit the state every year. And so, I mean, I think it's going to be extremely important for a primary to happen, actually, and for Byron to get out there and actually campaign versus thinking he's just got it in the bag. Because that is a state where if, it's obviously more red now than ever, but if you're lazy and you don't want to, and you don't take advantage of the early opportunity, that could sneak up on you.
Yeah, I just, to me, I don't ever see a problem with primaries. I know people there's some people like this notion that like, oh well, it wastes money, it does this, it doesn't. I don't think so. Okay, like the better your primary is, it just works. Okay, like it just proves that the candidate. The only primary I thought was stupid was the one that was run against Trump, because who are you? Like, did anybody even sort of think that DeSantis was going to be able to pull that off? Like honestly, like really, like did you think that DeSantis really had a real shot against Trump? Okay, like no one believed that, even sort of. I mean, it wasn't even close. Everyone should have dropped out of that race after Iowa. Okay, like that's what should have happened. It didn't, but whatever. But in terms of these governorships, I still think a primary is probably a good idea, and I see no problem with it in the first place. I genuinely like primaries. I think they're great for candidate quality, and not only just candidate quality, but also to see how your candidate handles underneath pressure. I think that's the even more important part of it. What were you saying, Jack Tron?
Well, I was just saying primaries make candidates sharper.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. Okay, so let's move on here. So this is something else that's worth talking about, and this is going to be a natural result of what's going on with the lunacy from the Democrat Party and their newest push towards gay communism. But this is, and I've been talking about the gay communism in the Democrat Party for a while now, but now it's going to start to have some serious, a lot faster than people thought. Okay, so if you guys haven't seen this yet, this is pretty disturbing that this is already happening in New York. So take a listen to this.
All right, guys, breaking news. The NYPD has 5,000 officers that are going to be resigning effective January 1st, 2026. I just dropped the report. Make sure you share it out. Get it out to all your people. I mean, what else are we going to do? They all want to leave because they don't want to be ruled under the communist.
5,000 NYPD officers are going to leave on January 1st. Just for reference, I mean, that's... Guys, I think the total police force of the NYPD is, I think, 50,000, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's 50,000 total, so they're going to lose 5,000 officers on the first day of this incoming year. That is horrible. So what are you going to replace them with? Is Mamdani going to get the social workers out there? Is he going to go get a bunch of social workers to go replace those people? Is that the plan? Now, I cannot wait. One of my favorite memes I've seen ever it was a friend of mine's a cop. And it was him. It's like two cops laughing to each other, like laughing back and forth to each other, saying, "Well, they called out the social worker for the 6'6" guy naked in the street with a pole that's swinging and attacking people. Like, can't wait to see how the social worker deals with that. That's going to go over real well. I can't wait to see this whole. At the same time, I think it's still horrible at the end of the day. It's still a terrible thing that this is happening, especially to New York, because I love New York City. But if you lose 5,000 officers on the first day, and you're going to lose more, it's going to be a lot worse than just 5,000. And if you start to drastically reduce the police force in New York City that quickly, that city is going to go downhill real fast. And that is not a good thing for anybody. And opinions, I'm glad you came up here, former NYPD officer. So I'm curious to hear what your take is on this, because this is pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, Walter, the total right now is about 33,000. That's total rank and file from, cop up to highest uniform would be the chief of department. So about 34. At its peak, that's pretty much when I got on, the mid 90s. It was at about late 90s. I got on by the late 90s, it was up to about 40. And right now it's probably at 32. So if they do lose 5, that's a big dent. So it's bigger, because you're looking at 5 out of 33 grand instead of 5 out of 50. So you got a big problem. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it very well could. But you also have retirements. I don't know if those are retirements or if those are going to be retirements combined with resignations. Not sure where he's getting the numbers from.
Well, I don't know, but I thought it was a lot. I thought their police force was a lot larger than that. So if it's really only 33 right now, 5,000 out of you're losing almost 25% of your entire police force on the first day. That is devastating to New York.
Yeah, they're already on demand, to be honest. They really need to be up around I was there in the Giuliani days when everything got under control. You need to be up around probably 38 to 40, legitimately, and they're not even close now. So yeah, it would be bad.
Well, I mean, I remember watching, was it de Blasio where they all turned their backs on him? Was that after the assassination of an NYPD officer? And then he was at the speech, and I watched all of the NYPD officers turn their backs to him as he was speaking. I think that was de Blasio, wasn't it?
I think it was two. I think it was the assassination of two NYPD officers.
Yeah, it might have been if I remember correctly, it could have been the Wenjin Liu and the Rafael Ramos assassination while they were sitting in a patrol car.
Yeah,
they were in the patrol car and they got hit point blank.
Yeah, well, but then the speech that de Blasio gave at their funeral, the entire NYPD turned their backs on him as he was speaking. I was at
that funeral. Yep.
Well,
I was there.
Well, I mean, but this is going to be, if they lose 5,000 on the first day, which I don't know who this guy is that's making this statement. I mean, I have no idea who he is. I don't know how accurate that statement is. But if that's true, you're going to lose 25% of your cops on the first day. It'll only get worse. And then Mamdami's his brilliant plan is we're going to place those people with social workers. That's going to go over super well. That's going to be just as great as the fast and free buses. Like, I can't wait. Like, I mean, the fast and free buses, social workers for cops. I can't wait. I mean, that's brilliant. It's going to go so well. Fast free buses. Everyone's going to live for free. The pixies are going to descend from the sky, and they're going to take care of everybody's rent, and we're going to have governing bread lines. Like, wonderful. Like, my goodness, people. Pray for New York City.
Did you see that Zoran is begging President Trump to accept his phone call now? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. That's hysterical.
Yeah, he's basically now saying, "Oh, I'm going to call President Trump, and wherever we can work together, we'll work together. But if he goes against the interests of New York City, I'll fight him. But I do want to call him. It's important. Blah blah blah." About a week ago, he was calling him, like everybody else, the worst thing ever, threats to democracy, and blah, blah, blah. But now he wants a phone call. So he needs money to fund his scams. That's what that's all about.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Trump is one of those people that is actually willing to put the hatchet down no matter who they are and will work with them if they're willing to actually work with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Trump does take that phone call. And if Mamdani moderates, and, it's very possible that he does, actually, because all of his donors were big billionaire donors from around New York City. It's not like he was just, running some grassroots up from the bottom campaign here, guys. George Soros' son was literally, in photographs with him. He's the number one donor to his campaign. This was a special interest campaign donation thing the whole way through. Why they decided to do it, who knows? Maybe he's easy to control. Maybe he's actually going to be the socialist utopist that they think he's going to be. Who knows? But I will say that Trump, in the end of the day, Trump will still work with anybody. So if he actually manages to get Trump to talk to him, I'm sure Trump will talk to him, to be honest with you, and he'll be willing to work with him. But he will not just give him money. He's not just going to hand him cash. He's going to put strings on every single cent that he hands to him, and he'd be right to do so. I mean, that needs to happen. I think the one advantage this may bring is if Mamdani does what I think he's going to do, which he's just going to wreck the city almost immediately. At least Stefanik might have a pretty good chance of winning that governorship, which I think would be great. So we'll see. All right.
Yeah, I think really quick. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
I was opening up a bag of chips to dip in some salsa. But I will tell you, my read on that was a little different. He wants Trump to call him before he swears in as mayor. So I think that.
Wait. Hold on. That's a different comment. He wants Trump to call him. Because that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen, baby.
With President Trump.
He said he wants to call President Trump.
Okay.
No, he said he will call the White House. He said he wants to call the White House before he begins his term.
Okay, because if he was trying to,
and I think that little part at the end there is super important because he can't be sworn in. He has to swear an oath of office to be sworn in as mayor, and as we know, there's a little bit of an issue with Zohar Mandami.
Well, one thing I'm glad that he wants to call Trump, because I promise you the president ain't calling him. That ain't going to happen. So like if that was never going to happen in a million years. So we'll see.
Chris, can you elaborate on this problem? Chris, are you there?
Well, my understanding is that there's allegedly some issues as it relates to his citizenship and his legal status in the country. That's my understanding, and we'll see how that plays out.
Well, I mean, if that's what your worry was for that doesn't matter to them. They'll just lie. But what I think we should do, we should just deport him. I mean, that would be much better. I don't care. Like if there actually is, like if there really is illegal, like if he got a fraudulent green card and he got his citizenship fraudulently, I don't care if he's the mayor, deport him. Like that means nothing to me. Like I don't care what position you're in. If you got here illegally and you did it fraudulently and you broke our laws to come into our country, deport him. Doesn't matter to me. Don't care how long it takes. Don't care what you got to do. Means nothing to me where you're at in your positions. None of that matters at all. I don't care how many people swear that you're going to be the greatest socialist communist dictator of all of New York City ever. And that means nothing to me. If you're here illegally and you broke our laws, then deport him. Doesn't matter to me at all. So we'll see. I doubt highly that happens, though. And I doubt highly that any of that matters because at the end of the day, they don't care and they elected him anyway. So, I don't think he's going to get deported. I also don't think that he's going to have a problem with swearing in on the oath, even though he's a liar and even though he's not going to get anything done. I am just going to keep on the fast and free buses. I can't wait to see them. They're going to be brilliant. They're going to be beautiful. I can't wait to see how he clears traffic for these fast and free buses. That's just going to be perfect. I'm so excited for it.
I think they should be referred to as Zorhan's Turbo Homeless Shelters.
There we go. Rolling homeless shelters.
That's what's going to happen. I mean, people act like this hasn't already been tried. And you had city councilmen in Kansas City write into the New York Times and New York Post an article saying this has already been done. This is what happened. They turned into mobile homeless shelters to the point that they canceled the bus lines in Kansas City. These are amalgamated transit union workers that lost their jobs because this socialist dream turned into a mobile homeless shelter where people were going literally number one, number two, and a whole lot of other things on the bus, and no one would ride the bus anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that the plan is that they're going to be solar-powered electric buses that'll be run through a company that's owned by some ridiculous green company that'll also go out of business. Like, do you guys remember watching the electric buses that they had? Where was that? I think that was in Washington State, where the buses that they had these giant electric buses they had all over the place, but they were just dying while like driving down the road. Like there was like there's a video of one that was like going uphill and it just completely died and then it rolled back down the hill. It was hysterical. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that this guy's going to do. It's like, we're going to have fast, free, and clean buses. They're going to be entirely environmentally friendly. They're going to be very expensive. The company that's going to make them is going to go out of business, but it's going to cost everyone in New York $1 billion to do it. And we'll fund it somehow by taxing more of the rich because that's the only way we can do anything. And all the rich are going to leave and New York's going to go bankrupt. And, we'll see. I'm not hopeful. Let's just say that. I'm not hopeful. I think the people that have fled New York, that is only going to increase rapidly. And it sounds to me like if there's another 5,000 NYPD officers that leave, that's going to mean that number of people that's going to flee is going to flee much faster. So I don't know. I doubt highly it's going to go over well. All right, let's move on here. Guys, before we move on, make sure you guys share this space out. We got about 30 minutes left in this show. If you want to join this show, come to x.com and go to @WCDispatch, and you come up here and join us. You can make a comment if you want to come up here and say something. If you got anything to comment on, if you want to ask questions to any of me or my panel, you're welcome to do so. This is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. Make sure you guys share the link out. If you got something to say, you can always put it down in the comments if you don't want to come up here and join us on stage. I do read the comments through all the different streams. I try to keep up with as many as I can. I do have like 5 different screens on, so it's kind of difficult sometimes, guys. But I always appreciate everybody who comes in and leaves comments because I always do read them and make sure I check up on them. To make sure you guys follow us on Spotify and on Apple. You can always watch this show. The video version of this is published to Spotify the next day. And the audio version, a cleaned up audio version of this, is also published onto Apple Podcasts, and you can check it out there. Okay, so let's move on to another topic here. The H-1B stuff, guys, I think we should still talk about this a little bit more because the H-1B stuff is not going away. And we've just consistently seen more and more problems out of the administration on this. And this is the bad messaging part of this. This is some of the stuff that really needs to be fixed. Okay, if we're actually going to have any messaging that needs to be fixed, it needs to be this H-1B stuff. Because earlier today, Kristi Noem came out here and this might be one of the worst messaging, like some of the worst messaging I've seen out of this whole problem. So just take a listen to what she has to say here, because I'll tell you the stats and the polls on this are horrible. Okay, like this is not good. Like, and even saying this remotely, this is a huge misstep, because she had an opportunity to say something else, and that's what I'll bring up after we listen to this. So just pay attention to what she says here, because this is not great.
What is the administration's position on these visas?
Now, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons, that they're not supporters of terrorists and organizations that hate America. And that's what I think is so remarkable, is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also, more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens because we're not just streamlining and building some processes back into our immigration policies. We're also making sure that these individuals that are coming into our country and get that privilege, that they actually are here for the right reasons. The Biden administration let thousands of terrorists into this country. They opened the southern border. They abused our asylum programs, abused our protective programs and visa programs, and we fixed all of it. It's remarkable what President Trump has done, and it's because he's a great leader. He's a visionary, and this man is going to go down as a legend in history as our greatest president ever.
Okay, so did you catch what the problem with that was? We are now making more people citizens than ever before. Most in history. We're getting more citizenship, more naturalization. We're getting more immigration than ever before, legal immigration than ever before. And also note that the Chiron here is talking about H-1B visas, okay? Like, this needs to be pivoted on. And the problem is, what's amazing about this is, why didn't you say, instead of that whole line where you're saying, well, now we're bringing in way more people. Like, there's way more people becoming immigrants now. That's not a great message for people. Okay, like, that's not good right now. People don't like that. Okay, and the reason people don't like that is because, if you guys don't know this, the polling data across the country, 70% of Americans don't want just less illegal immigration. They just want less immigration. Doesn't matter if it's legal or not. They don't want it. They don't want more immigrants. They think there's too many immigrants here in the first place. Less is better for them. So coming out and telling everybody that during a discussion on H-1Bs of all things, that, oh, we're bringing in even way more people. That more people are being naturalized now than ever before. This is fantastic. This is the way that this is great. We're doing a good job. No, that was terrible. Okay, you shouldn't have said that. That's not what you should have said. What you should have said, and this is notes for the Trump administration here, if anybody has the ability to get this to them, was what you should have said is, well, you have to remember that President Trump just signed an order here recently, so that anybody that comes in under the H-1B visa program now, they have to pay $100,000. So if they're making the choice, a company has to make that choice between $100,000 additional payment for that employee or from hiring an American. We're hoping that they're going to hire the American. That's what we're going to hope for. That's such an easy message. Why didn't you use it? Who is running the PR around this H-1B nonsense? That was the worst thing you could have said. Yeah, it's great. We love it. Yeah, we're bringing more. Bring in more people. We want more naturalized citizens. That is not what people want. Okay, that's not what people want. People want less immigration, and they definitely want the H-1B visa issue fixed, which I still think that this $100,000 tax addition to the H-1Bs is a good thing. That, I think, will solve a lot of the problems, because the problem with H-1Bs generally is that the way that they're being used currently is that, you bring people in and you pay them half of what they pay an American, and it butchers the whole system. The H-1B system was supposed to be designed so that you bring in people that are of high talent, that you can bring them in, and you need to fill a very specific type of job, and you can't fill that from American citizens. But instead, what it is you want to bring people in to put them in mid-level, engineering positions and pay them less than you would do in an American engineer. That's how it really works currently. So, but the deal is that this $100,000 thing that they set up on that fixes the problem. So, but why didn't you say that? Why didn't you do it? What on? Yes, there's a couple people saying that it's destroyed IT and it's destroyed it's destroyed a lot of things, guys. The H-1B program has been abused horrifically recently. He needs to, I agree. There's a couple people saying there needs to be a round table on this. Yes, there does. There needs to be something done on it because the messaging coming out of this is terrible. It is terrible messaging. Okay, like you can't come out and talk about an issue that people are very upset about, that has caused a lot of the problems, that people really believe that the H-1B issue is one of the main issues for employment in the country for people to get good paying jobs, because a lot of those good paying jobs are being just axed down and paid half what they should be paid because they're filling in with people from all over the country, all over the world. So I don't understand how they can't seem to get this messaging right, and they need to pivot on this. They have to pivot on this because it just doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. It's not a good look. It's not going to be popular no matter how they do it, because you listen to the other stuff when we have on H-1Bs here. And I think, is it, hey, Jacktron, is it clip 18 or is that Roy, or is it the H-1B? Which one is the Benny Johnson clip here?
That's the Chip Roy one with Benny Johnson.
Yeah, so this is what I wanted to play here. So this one here is the other clip here that I want to play on this specifically because Benny Johnson does a pretty good job here talking about this.
Functional society has collapsed in one generation since the greatest generation in World War II, and it's something that we got to fix. Charlie's solution, obviously, is mass deportations and ending H-1B scams, among other things. What's your take on this, Congressman?
Well, first of all, I did listen to virtually all of Byron's interview, and there's a reason that I've endorsed him for governor. We agree. We are great friends. We work together in the House Freedom Caucus. We are aligned philosophically on a lot of these issues. So I agree with much of what he said. But what I would just add is, as you know, in Texas, we've been dealing with the brunt of the illegal immigration influence. But now we're seeing, I think, the ramifications of the H-1B system and how it has been abused, in addition to chain migration and diversity visas, which we've been trying to fix for a long time. And we've been unable to do so. You'll remember back in 2018 with the various bills that were being debated in President Trump's first term, and we were unable to get that resolved as Republicans, and it left it both broken with respect to the illegal immigration system. We didn't get the wall fully built. We didn't get fixes to all of the asylum problems and the abuse of parole and the catch and release. But we also didn't address ending the chain migration and diversity visas. We had language to do it. We just couldn't get the votes. So now what are we dealing with in Texas? We're dealing with a massive Islamism problem. We're dealing with a massive problem of the advancement of Sharia law. We're dealing with a mass community that is growing up that have no desire to assimilate and come here to become American and embrace Western civilization, embrace our Constitution, embrace our values. We've allowed the corporatists to define our entire national policy. And if I were going to go talk about what Charlie's tweet there was about, that summary, which is exceptionally on point, and as he always was when he was starting from faith, family, the foundational principles, and that encapsulates it very well. You should be able to own a home. You should be able to have Americans getting jobs. And the mass deportation is correct. The ending H-1B visas is correct, etc. But what I would point out here is that we're dealing with a cultural problem about who we are as Americans. Going back a couple of years ago, I was noting 51 million people in this country are foreign born, Benny. That's something like 16 or 17% of the population. Now, that is higher than it's ever been. That is higher than it was in the early 20th century, right, when we had the massive wave coming in. We've got a mass foreign-born population, but here's the kicker. It is on the back of, as Byron noted, a failed education system. Not just failing us in terms of skill sets, which is germane to the H-1B question, but failing us in terms of teaching Western civilization, in terms of teaching God, in terms of teaching our values.
So what he's talking about here is absolutely right. And the other thing he brings up is something that I've mentioned in the past on this show, at least. I've talked about the problems with chain migration, and chain migration is something that was changed underneath the Clinton administration, and that is another huge problem that needs to be fixed. It didn't used to be that you could bring in, and what for those who don't know what chain migration is, chain migration, what it used to be before Clinton got a hold of it, was that if you come into the country under a visa, then your immediate family, like your wife, your brother, can come in Your kids can come in, that sort of thing. Those people could be part of that migration process. But what it really got changed to when chain migration, when the Clinton administration changed this, and this is something I talked about in the past, where I've been looking for an adjudicator's field book from before Clinton took over. An adjudicator's field book is how they actually decide how you can get visas. And the changes that were made to chain migration, now it's your cousin's brother's second half sister can come in because they're somehow related to you. So that's the things that they've changed in chain migration. But H-1Bs is the same sort of problem. They just bring in anybody and they use it to force the labor wage down. But the other part is that Chip Roy's talking about here, and this is something I don't know if people watched. Matt Walsh had a bit on this yesterday. Is the values that are being instilled are not being passed on into the country, and it is becoming a major problem. A major problem. So if you guys missed this, this is Matt Walsh's show yesterday, I believe it was. He was talking about this specifically, and he's talking about the problem that we're having now. Somali, tribal blood feuds are deciding things in American politics. So listen to this.
We all know costs have been all over the place, groceries, gas, subscriptions, you name it. So it's no surprise that we tend to assume everything is more expensive than it actually is. Case in point, 72% of Americans overestimate what life insurance plays with thousands. Media posts many Somalis. Omar story is true, whether it's accurate to say that foreign blood feuds are indeed influencing elections in this country, causing civil disturbance and so on. And indeed, just 24 hours later, all doubt has been removed. Ilhan Omar, probably the single most vocal and resentful Somali in all of U.S. politics, because somehow there are a bunch of them, has just delivered a speech in which she attacks Somali voters who did not support Omar Fateh. Specifically, she calls for Somalis who didn't support Omar Fateh, including Somalis who rejected him because of his clan affiliation, to be expelled from the country. She wants the traitorous Somalis in the Hawiye clan to be forcibly removed from Minneapolis as quickly as possible. In other words, in a somewhat unexpected turn of events, Somalis are now the foremost advocates for Somali deportation in this country. Ilhan Omar is to the right of Tom Homan on this one. ICE is saying they want to prioritize the removal of illegal aliens who commit serious crimes. Meanwhile, Ilhan Omar and the Darude clan are essentially out here calling for pre-dawn raids at the local Somali preschool. Family separations and everything. They'll be front row at the next Trump rally chanting, "Send them back," in a language that nobody can understand. So who said that tribal politics can't be entertaining at least? And we'll play only a small portion of Omar's full remarks as reported by Andy No, since Omar is subtitled because she can't be bothered to speak in English. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, you're not going to be able to make heads or tails of this. But here it is. Watch.
dadkaasoo kaleetana magaaladay noola dhex nool yihiin waan aragnaa anagoo dhan qaar waxaa jiro aan dhahno qofkan wuu iska hadlaa micno ma leh kanina adeerkay waaye biliis waxa dhihin waxaa laga yaabaa kafishaabyaalkeen waa taqaaniin dadkan ka hadlaayo starbuckskaa la fadhiistiin maybe masaajidka marmar inuu imaadaana laga yaabaa xafladaha isla tagtiin waa taqaaniin dadkan ka hadlaa anigu guriyaan la deganahay waa aragtiin dadkaas iska qabta meel ma gaareen anaga Soomaali hadii aan nahay inta dadkaas ay nagu dhex jiraan oo aanan dhehaynin qofkaanay hana dhaafo.
Now, later on in this footage, according to the translation, Ilhan Omar attacks Somalis who translate her speeches into English. She claims those Somalis are misrepresenting her words and trying to get her in trouble or even arrested. Or at least I think that's what Ilhan Omar is saying. Based on the translation that was done by translators she's attacking. For all I know, the translators are messing with her in a very meta way.
So the reason this is important is because of what Chip Roy was just talking about. And even though it's hysterical, listening to the fact that is a American political rally, that's what I think is the most ridiculous about this. That is happening in American political rallies. And if you guys didn't watch this whole episode from Matt Walsh, I really recommend you go watch at least the full monologue, which is, I think it's about 20 minutes long. It's well worth watching it because, he goes through multiple different areas where, there are full-on Somali blood feuds between the Wahe clan and the Daru clan, and they hate each other because back in Somalia, the Daru clan's in control and the Wahe clan is not in control, and they despise each other. And now that has managed to reach, Minnesota politics. Oh, boy. I mean, just what are we doing? This is the problem with this mass migration issue and why we need to have way more deportations. And the H-1B problem, H-1Bs need to be resolved. But I think the other thing that really needs to be addressed is the amount of people that were given visas underneath the previous administration needs to be fixed. That's what needs to be fixed. You need to go back and remove some of the visas from these people. You need to get them out of the country, okay? Because otherwise, this is going to be everywhere. You're going to have more Somali blood feuds. You're going to have more Islamist problems. I mean, go look at Dearborn. Dearborn's, by the way, the next article series that I'm doing, I think I put a poll out. I should probably put that in the chat in here today so people could have voted on that. I was seeing where people, it looks like Dearborn's already winning. So I'll be heading up to Dearborn here soon for an investigative series on that city. But the point being that Dearborn is they're playing the Muslim call to prayer at 5 a.m. in an American city. And why is that happening? Because we've imported massive amounts of Muslims to that area. And this is all again, the mass legal migration, the asylum seekers, all of this stuff, it just needs to be fixed. The mass deportation aspect of Trump's, one of the things that Trump's biggest number one thing that he ran on was closing the border and mass deportations. But that also means removing the temporary status from these people and getting them out of the country. They need to go. Otherwise, the politics is going to be more devolved. Prices on homes everything's going to continue to skyrocket because just look at the costs of homes, the cost of rent. Go look at the cost of rent because that's the other thing. The asylum seekers, they get free rent. Okay, so like just here in my city, in Springfield, Ohio, right? The Haitian immigrants that come here, they get free rent, they get free cars, they get free everything, okay? Why do you think home prices skyrocket so much when you bring in double the amount of the population? So the population of Springfield, by the way, is only about 60,000, and they dropped 30,000 Haitians in this city, and they wonder why home prices went up, over 100% in less than 4 years. Shocking. Isn't that crazy? I can't imagine why that's happened. I mean, like the rent costs here have more than tripled. All of these problems are caused by, again, mass migration that should be reversed, and it can be reversed by taking away the temporary protective status and then getting them out of the country. And that has to just happen. And these, if you want to get the messaging under control on the H-1B visa stuff and all of the immigration stuff, we need to start having tangible results on the actual removal of people, not just deportations, the mass deportations of criminal illegal aliens. That's good, obviously. That's obviously good. But you also need to get rid of these people that they brought in underneath the asylum programs. They need to go home. They need to go home. And again, I'll advocate for what I've mentioned many, many times in the past couple of weeks. Free cruise ships, okay? Give them an all-inclusive one-way ticket pass right back to where they came from. Put them on cruise ships. I think it'll be fine. You can do like a few thousand a day. Okay, like it'll be perfect. They can drink the whole way down there, and then they just get to stay after they get there. It's a one-way cruise. You don't have to tell them that. They can't speak English anyway. It doesn't matter. Just tell them they get to go on this really cool boat, and then, they can stay there after they get off the boat. The boat shows up. It's like one of those ones where you go on like the island tours, except the island tour is just wherever they came from, and then they just stay there. I think that's the best way we could do this, and it'd be much faster. The current idea is that they offer like $1,000 on a plane ticket or something like that. But why clog up air travel? Like, we don't need to do all that. Just put them on boats, okay? Just put them on boats, get them out of here. That just needs to happen. We just need to get more people to leave. The temporary protective statuses needs to be removed from. I don't know. I can't name what group right now is underneath the temporary protective status that should stay. Can anyone name me one that really is like super important right now that we need to maintain? Because I can't really think of one. Maybe okay, how about the white South Africans that are being genocided in South Africa? They can keep protective status. They can get that one. They can stay. Everybody else has got to go. Okay, like the soup kitchen is closed. Okay, we need to stop importing the third world into this country. We're done with it. And the messaging coming out around the administration, you can make this message land, but telling people that H-1Bs are great and that we're getting way more people in here to be naturalized citizens is not the right message at all. It just isn't, and everybody knows it. Okay, go ahead, Jack Tron. You've got your hand up. You wanted to say something, or Chris, whoever wants to chime in.
Yeah, I was going to let you know that the Trump officially signed the CR, so the government shutdown is officially over. Excellent.
That is good. Great news. The CR has been signed. The Democrats got nothing, and they released a nonsense email that was completely meaningless. And Matt Tardio, what's up, my friend? How are you?
Walter, I'm not going to lie, man. I just wanted to come in here and congratulate you on your 131st episode. That is a freaking ton of episodes to be cranking out Monday through Friday, every single time. And it is just simply amazing to actually see, watch, and listen every time I'm able to check in here. So I just wanted to congratulate you on that because I know it's not easy, and praise, it often doesn't come. So I just wanted to say congrats.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, try to keep it as consistent as possible. That's the only thing that I've learned in this is that just show up every day, even if you don't want to be there. You got to do it.
And that's the hard part that a lot of people don't understand, which is why I'm congratulating you, sir.
Well, I know you've got a pretty successful show yourself, so that's the deal to me. And I look out there and I can see when the people are actually putting in the work, and I know what it takes now. So you just have to be there. Doesn't matter if you don't want to be.
I mean, it depends on how many gropers you piss off on a daily basis, but yeah, for the most part,
That's true.
But yeah, everything going on in our country right now, I'm just soaking up every single thing that you're talking about as far as Trump administration goes, and what they're doing, which is a success, which is not a success, and really looking at, from my perspective, the security concerns that are going on here in the United States. And Trump's doing a pretty good job nipping them in the butt, but at the same time, we also have to be very critical. When we're talking about security considerations here in the United States of America, and that's my main shtick. I'm actually kind of curious. I kind of want to ask you a question. You've talked about a lot of things here in the homeland, and I'm actually kind of curious what your take is on some of his overseas policies he's currently implementing, such as Venezuela, and him recently coming out with his take on Nigeria.
The Venezuela situation, I've actually been paying quite a bit of attention to it, even though I don't typically cover a lot of foreign policy, mostly because I feel like there's a ton of people who already do. It's like the only real reason that I don't cover it a whole bunch, because there's so many people who do. And there's people that are really, really good at it. I mean, if those who don't know who Matt Tardio is, guys, make sure you guys follow Matt. He's got a great show. Former Green Beret, and really knows his stuff when it comes to foreign policy and military strategy and everything else. So anyway, in Venezuela, I've actually been watching this, and it's been very interesting that it's not just about the narco part of this. I think there's a whole nother angle going on down there that I think it has to do with the USAID stuff. I think that USAID was positioning itself within Venezuela, and this might be, Trump's next move to try and to topple that regime. I'm not really sure. But it's very interesting that we have a $50 million bounty on the president of a foreign country, and we're blowing their boats out of the water on a regular basis. The amount of buildup that we're putting down there, I would say that there's a lot more going on in Venezuela that's not just based on what Maduro is doing. I think that's probably a power play against the Chinese. That would be my thought on that, really. It's good that we're starting to focus in our hemisphere as well, not just over in the Middle East. I think this has been kind of ignored by the past few administrations, or maybe maybe not ignored, but definitely not as much focus as what we're doing now. And the going on down into Argentina, people were talking about that bailout, which it's not a bailout. We're buying some of their currency. I think that's trying to position us in a scenario where we're buying back into the Latin American market to a point where we're actually going to be making real change down there. And I think Malay is going to help us a lot with that. What happens in Venezuela, I'm not sure what the next result is. The amount of force that we have down there. Isn't the Ford down there now? I think the Ford just got down there.
We've got almost 1/5 of our deployable naval forces down there on that mission. So just anywhere between estimates, put anywhere between 16 to 20% right now, all to knock out about 16 boats in the last 2 months or so. So I'm kind of with you on that. It's a lot deeper than stopping drug runners. I think that's the one thing that our administration is able to act on right away. And something very interesting to look at is actually the retired Green Beret, former Green Beret that was actually running a security contracting company that ended up getting balled up. His guys ended up getting balled up down there. A bunch of them got killed. A couple of them got thrown in jail. They were there for about 2 years, but for some reason, the Justice Department actually just went after him and indicted him on federal charges for weapons and things like that. But I mean, he's got some signed documents, and his story sounds very, very legit. And even Trump back in, I think it was like 2019 during his State of the Union address, had basically praised, I forget the other guy's name, that he wanted to prop up instead of Maduro, but he had praised that guy, saying that Maduro's not the legitimate president. So this has been an ongoing thing for Trump, not just for this administration, but during his prior one. And I think you're right. I think it has a lot to do with China, and I think it has a lot to do with foreign initiative and making sure that they stay the hell out of our hemisphere. And that's one of the things that have gone vastly ignored. And I think it's the same thing over inside of Nigeria. We look and we can say that Christians being murdered, that is a very palatable thing for a lot of Americans to go over and get behind. But the same thing, we're asking our U.S. service members to go over there and commit their lives. So what is it they're committing their lives for? So
yeah,
this is how.
This is the deal to me is the Venezuela story specifically. Sticking on that note is that I think there's obviously a lot more going on there than they're telling us, but this is also something Trump is actually a lot better at than any of the other administrations before him. Is that they don't telegraph what we're really doing on a military strategy level, and he says it openly. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, and it's good for him to do it like that. Why we need so much force down there in Venezuela right now for what is the Venezuelan military going to do? Like, I mean, like seriously, I mean, do they even have a substantial military of any sustenance? Like, I mean, is that true? Like, I don't think so. I don't think that we need that much of our fleet down there. There's something else that's being used as a positioning down there. So I think it's definitely more to the story there, but we're not going to know about it. And the whole drug running thing, that just gives them easy cover. I mean, that's just a bonus benefit of having that much force in the area. We can say, well, yeah, we're blowing boats up, but guys, we don't need the Ford to blow boats out of the water. Like, we can do that from drones that fly out of Wright Pat. Like, we don't need to send that much force to the area to take care of some drug boats. Like, there's no reason for it. But it's a good cover story for them. So that, I think, is going to play out here reasonably soon. I think what is the betting markets? There's a betting market on how long Maduro is going to last, and it keeps going. It keeps going in the opposite direction for Maduro. So I think his days are numbered. But in terms of why there's so much force down there, there's got to be something else happening other than just blowing boats out of the water. I did like Pete Hegseth. He gave an interesting speech. I think it was today. And he said, if you're a narco terrorist, my recommendation to you is to just not get in a boat. And he just started laughing, and I'm like, I love that. I'm glad Pete Hegseth is there. I think he's good for the military. But what we're actually seeing down there, I don't know. I mean, there's something else happening. We don't need that much force in the area for us to just take out some drug boats, and I don't think anybody believes that.
No, I've looked at it and I've said, you do have a lot of influence peddling between Russia and China down there. But the other thing that I ended up noticing that actually caught my eye, and I'm really shocked that it hasn't hit mainstream media very well. The ricin plot that actually ended up hitting over inside of India, where they ended up thwarting that ricin plot, and you still had VBIEDs and stuff like that go off. They ended up finding a buttload of explosives in addition to it, but you had enough ricin to kill anywhere between, 250,000 up to 500,000 people, depending on how they employed it. At a minimum, tens of thousands, right? And the deal is when you look at the top 5 countries that are supplying drugs into the United States of America, you have India, which is at the very bottom of that top 5 list. Venezuela doesn't even come close. Venezuela is a great transfer point. Venezuela gets drugs in from India. And so if you've got this ricin deal with ISIS-K coming out of Afghanistan and over into India, I mean, you've got a pipeline that exists working its way over there. So that, to me, would make sense, putting a fifth of our Navy or, down there, taking care of that problem to make sure that's not coming through. Because I would assume that it doesn't take that much ricin. Picture ricin like fentanyl. Just a little bit's going to kill a ton of people. And so if you end up putting it down there, you're essentially stopping and blowing up those boats, because God only knows what boat it's going to be on. That's the only thing I can really make out in my mind.
Right, but even that, you wouldn't need that much of a force, though, to take out that. I mean, that's what my thought is. Like, you don't need a fifth of our Navy to show up and even to take out my point is that you could just fly drones. You could fly a shitload of drones. You could fly a ton of drones over the area and take any boat that comes out from anything out of Venezuela if we wanted to. That wouldn't be even a real task for us. They could take off out of Florida and they wouldn't have any issue. So why we have so much force, there's something more to it, and I haven't figured it out yet, really. There's something else happening. So we'll see what the next play on that is. In terms of Nigeria, I think it is a good thing that Nigeria is actually being talked about, but that's also, again, going back into the power play on geopolitics level, because the Chinese positioned themselves heavily in Africa, and that has happened for years at this point. Now, the one counterpoint that a lot of people worry about this, but my point has always been the same thing, is that every single country, developing country, industrious country, has attempted to do something in Africa, and it is the black hole that consumes and spits out nothing. Okay, like the French, the Dutch, the Germans, the British, the Americans, every single country has attempted to do something in in Africa, and they've poured in billions of dollars of resources, tons of money goes into it, and then Africa just sucks it all up and it just disappears. So my comment has always been, let the Chinese drown themselves in Africa. I don't care. Let them send as much money as they want into Africa, because it won't work out for them, just because it hasn't worked out for anybody else either. And I highly doubt that they're going to do it. Now, the only counterpoint I've heard on this actually is that the difference is the Chinese themselves, because there's so many Chinese, what they can actually do is import people. So that's something that's different that they can do. They can dump in, 10 million Chinese people, and it's not really a dent in their population. So they can take 10 million Chinese people, stick them in Africa, and then it's not really Africans running the area that they're in developing. It's the Chinese that are doing it. So that's the one counterpoint on it, but I still am of the mind that I don't think it's going to work out for them anyway. But again, that more power plays are going to be happening in Nigeria. I think is not necessarily the tip of that, but it's going to be definitely part of it. So we'll see. But I still think it's a good thing to go after the massacre of Christians down there in Nigeria is a horrible thing, and we should definitely be taking any of that seriously.
Yeah, you know me. I've got zero problem killing jihadis wherever they're at. I think that they're horrible, horrible human beings. Like, they need to go. The only connection to the United States that I could actually find interesting enough over in Nigeria for the last couple of years was that Tesla had actually made a bid on a lithium mine over there. Yeah, Nigeria has what is projected to be the largest lithium mine over on the continent. Now, Elon Musk ended up getting turned down, or Tesla ended up getting turned down for that lithium mine, and China was actually able to step in and do it. And I was reading an article today that said that China is essentially, trying to control all these different critical minerals and only releasing or selling them to certain companies that they deem fit, particularly over here in America, essentially controlling the market and controlling the different companies that they want to get behind and causing inflation in other areas as well. So I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true, because the rare earth minerals, like the race for controlling of rare earth minerals, is something we really need to take seriously, because currently China controls a massive percentage of it. Now, the one counter thing is that in America, what we actually need to do is we need to actually start mining in our own country again. And this is something that I told people, I don't know, Chris, when did I start telling people to start investing in mining companies? 8 months ago, at least. Whenever the Trump administration came in, I said, watch, we're going to start mining in this country again, okay? Because it needs to happen, okay? Like, the EPA in this country hamstrung the entire industries of resources. I mean, there's a guy named Jim Banks. He's a American economist. He actually wrote the book called The New Case for Gold, and I think when he wrote that, gold was $700 an ounce. Now gold is $4,000 an ounce. So I tend to pay attention when he talks about this, and his comment was that he thinks that there's roughly $100+ trillion worth of assets in our ground that has been sealed by our EPA's stupidity. Okay, so if we actually open that up and we start mining in this country again, we actually have real mines where we go out and do it, like actually pull stuff out of the ground. We have resources. We're a very resource-rich country. We just don't go after it. We don't touch it because, the spotted freckled owl or some nonsense. Like, we need to get away from that because our enemies don't care. And that's something that I hope that it manages to translate into the future, even past this administration, because our enemies certainly do not care about their areas, and they are going to absolutely out-resource us if we don't start using our own resources in our own country. So we can't just go after only the resources in Africa. We can't just go after them in Latin America. We need to go after them in our own country. And if you start mining in our country, those jobs, that amount of money that comes out of the ground, that is real wealth. That is massive amounts of wealth, and that's something that needs to happen, I've already started to see the beginnings of that. There was a uranium mine that was opened up and that was approved. And they got it through in like 3 weeks. Kind of incredible, which tells you, to me, when you hear something like that, when something gets approved that quickly, that tells me that there's actually a buildup going on within our military. You don't just randomly open a uranium mine for no reason. I think there's a real reason for that. Part of the problem with that is Uranium One deal that was back with the Clintons. They gave away a large portion of our uranium ability a while ago. So that was Clinton's wonderful scandal back in 2015, or no, maybe it was even further than back than that. I can't even remember when that broke. I'm friends with the whistleblower who broke that story open, but. Again, you're 100% right to look at where the rare earth minerals are, because I think that's the real power play right now, especially when it comes to AI chips and where the AI war that we're in. All of this stuff plays into it. So on geopolitical scale, wherever the rare earth minerals are, we're probably going to be. And that's always a way to look at our foreign policy right now, because when we're in a competition against China, who doesn't care about the environment at all, we're going to have to go after the resources wherever we can get them.
Yeah, and that's something that Trump's actually done really good. A lot of people are upset about the tariffs. I know his tariffs have ended up catching a lot of flack. But in return, if you go and you take a look at what we've been getting by leveraging those tariffs is actually mineral rights, which actually helps out the United States quite a bit because we are very, very behind when it comes to making that stuff happen. It's very important to industry. It's very important to like future job market. It's actually very important to stabilizing the US dollar. And the U.S. dollar, I think, is the one thing that the enemies of the United States are actually going after in order to try to collapse, which is why China is trying to control that market like on their own, which I know isn't the point of this conversation, but just want to throw that out there. You're absolutely right, Walter. Like they absolutely start looking into mining companies and taking care of that because new critical mineral list just came out. And that means a lot of action is going to start happening with those mining companies here in the United States. It's very important for us to do that. And you're right; they don't care about the spotted owl. They don't care about whatever red-headed, cock-headed woodpecker might exist in another country. They're just going to go after it. They're going to mine. They're going to get everything that they need, and it has the potential to hurt the United States pretty bad.
Absolutely does. And that's to me, when we start paying attention to this stuff and actually start realizing it, the environmentalists in this country have hamstrung our industry for so long that people forget that there's a location out here. It's essentially a tourist attraction here in Ohio now. And what it is it's the last bucket from a strip mining organization that used to run out here. And the bucket is it's like the size of a house. It's huge. It's like 500 or 600 feet across, right? But the reason it sits there is because they couldn't do anything with it, and the mining company shut down. And that was a coal mining plant. That is what that was. That was what it was for. But we stopped mining. And why did we stop mining? Well, because something about we upset somebody, and there was someone doesn't like what we were doing. Well, that killed a whole industry in this country, and we don't have any mining really in this country at all for anything. So if we start opening this up, the amount of jobs that creates is huge, and we're going to have to do it. There's no question about it at this point. And everyone talks about whether or not we need to pay attention to Russia or what do we need to do, guys. The money that you need to look at the size of the economies. Okay, Russia's entire economy, their entire GDP, is the size of Florida. Okay, now China is a $17 trillion economy. That's the real threat. Okay, so just for everyone's kind of aware, there's never been a scenario where the United States has not been in some form of a proxy war with its major geopolitical rival. That's never happened before. So, China, there's no question that they are a geopolitical rival at this point. And at least Trump has actually managed to position the country against China for the first time ever. I mean, before Trump came in 2016, was anyone even talking about China? No one even mentioned it. No one oh yeah, they're just our favorite best partner. They just steal all of our IP. They just steal everything from us all the time. And they just, they open up factories. Every time there's a new idea that someone comes up in the United States, they instantly open a factory in China and start producing it and selling it at a third the cost and undercut the market in the United States. We just ignore all that stuff until Trump came in. So, Trump's positioning against China is super important. Now, whether or not there's going to be some sort of actual heated battle, I don't know. I think economic warfare is probably more likely when it comes to the modern world now. Are we going to really see a hot war with China? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe. The deal is that China wants Taiwan, and the deal is I thought, to me, I don't know about you, Matt, but I was actually convinced that China was going to try and hit Taiwan right before Biden's term was over. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen. But I'm surprised they didn't.
I mean, I'm not. China, Xi Jinping in particular, he is only going to go after things that he knows he can guarantee a victory out of, and I just don't think they're there right now. I really don't. And so, really, what I think is if they are able to cripple the U.S. dollar, which is why I see this race for all these rare earth minerals, and like you brought up the gold, also looking to silver. That gold and silver market is really what they're looking to control, and if they can control that, they can affect the U.S. dollar very substantially. Very, very substantial. The LBMA was close to defaulting last month and ended up getting bailed out by COMEX and actually Shanghai as well. But if that ends up happening because there's massive squeeze right there, US dollar is going to take a massive hit. And that's not good. If COMEX defaults, if any of these other countries defaults, it's going to take a massive hit. And once that happens and we have that, if that happens, we have that inflation over here inside of the United States, then I would see Xi going after that because, we're going to be too far down to really do anything about it. And right now, not the case. So I think he's a little bit scared. He can't guarantee the outcome on that. So he's going to hold back and he's going to hold off. He's just waiting on the U.S. to get weaker and weaker and weaker, which is why it's so important to pay attention, in my opinion, to the U.S. dollar, to all the investments over here in the United States, and particularly what's going on in the United States of America as well. It's scary as hell. If you go look at ODNI report from, I think it was March or April of this year, they talk about, social media campaigns and all of that different foreign influence and stuff that's taking place over here in the United States. It's very, very real. China and Russia are two of the biggest pushers of that, mainly China, developing AI, developing fake accounts, pushing all of that stuff over here in the United States. And some of those categories that they focused on, mainly immigration, right? Mainly immigration is what we were seeing over here in the United States, which is causing a lot of issues, especially now that Trump's pushing all of these deportations. And it's a good thing that we have those deportations taking place. But what's bad is our information space, and we're losing that battle here at home. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I think the information war is something that people don't pay enough attention to. A couple months ago, there was a report that came out that talked about some of these people, the right wing, the coalition on the right that is, the anti-Israel right and whatnot. And there was a bot network that was like pushing some of this stuff. And now the way that the people that it was referencing took that story was that they said, well, we're not just supported by bots. People support us too. You're missing the point. Okay, it's not that all of your followers are bots. Okay, that's not true. But what's happening is the foreign influence positioning, what they're doing is they're inflaming sections online. They're inflaming division within certain areas to weaken the general populace across the board. That's the idea. So they find something that's a niche, something that is a wedge, right? And then they say, okay, target that wedge, make that wedge way bigger by giving it as much attention as you possibly can and inflame the attack against each other. And then it divides the wedge. It's an op. I mean, it's an op, but it's not even known to the people that it's being done to. That's the point. Like the people that they're getting inflated like that, if they're getting a whole bunch of attention. Guys, the one thing I tell people a lot, if you're paying attention, one thing I say to people is when you have if you have a regular show or if you have a regular audience or a regular amount if you tweet on a regular basis, and then magically overnight your numbers just skyrocket. They just skyrocket out of nowhere. They just go to the moon and you have no idea where it came from. What that is someone trying to influence your opinion. Okay, it's not that your audience suddenly magically just picked up something you said. And maybe every now and then you'll say something that really kind of hits the narrative, like on a general populist level, and that'll go viral. But more often, like it's not always that happens, okay? Sometimes if you say something that doesn't really even seem to you like it was that important and then suddenly gets tons of attention, you need to be a little bit skeptical of that. And, one of the things I've watched, and this is something, I don't know if you've ever paid attention to this, Matt, on Substack, I've seen this. And there was people, specifically around the October 7th stuff, when that started coming out, there was a bunch of these new accounts that started up, and then magically, they just started going into Blockbuster. They got 100 paid subscribers. They got 1,000 paid subscribers. Guys, when your subscriber count doesn't naturally tick up on a regular basis, like it takes a long time to build an audience. If you just suddenly go from 5,000 to 10,000 people subscribing to you, you might need to be paying attention to where that's coming from and why. It's just something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean that sometimes you can't hit a clean break and something great happens and you take off and that naturally happens. That does. But if you're on a specific note in something that you don't even think is that important and suddenly it becomes so blockbuster and you don't understand why, you should ask why. That's the only point I try to make to people is that you need to be kind of cautious about that. And the inflammation that you see online, one of the things I know that happens across, specifically on X, is that I think that the foreign influence that attacks the American populace through the information space, what they really do is they find the wedge, they inflate the wedge, and they make sure that the two sides that normally wouldn't even see each other or really interact with each other, they make sure that they clash. And I think that's what causes a lot of the division you see online. A lot of people don't pay attention to it. It's kind of complicated. The reason I know about it a lot is because I did a lot of work on the censorship stuff. If the disarm framework, that whole network that I understood and figured out how it worked, I think the problem is that network eventually got moved out to everybody else, and now it's being used by all of our enemies as well because the people who developed it were stupid, and they left it to be a public thing that you could all access, and now everybody has access to it because if I found it, you best believe our enemies found it, okay? That's what my thought is. If there is a foreign influence machine that is developed, and by the way, what I'm talking about, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, the disarm framework, the actual network that it was built on, it was an AI machine. Okay, it was a machine learning program that was designed to operate autonomously to influence public opinion. That's what it was. Okay, and I know how it works. I've got the documents. I've seen how it works. I've actually seen it live running on my machine, watching it work. Okay, if our enemies have the same sort of thing, you best believe they're using it. And that's just something to keep in mind when you're operating online.
Yeah, you're not wrong. 1,000%. I've fallen victim to some of these bot attacks. I've held spaces where you go from, 100, 200 up to a couple thousand, and then you just see everything taper off, or you'll get massive amounts of followers. And what they end up doing is they'll follow you for a little bit. And what they don't realize is that even if, let's say, these bots end up triggering notifications, well, that's fine. But after that, they're going to ignore you. And what that does is it suppresses you in the algorithm. It suppresses you across the board. The other thing that they like to do is they like to take some very fringe accounts that have some very un-American points of view, and they'll give them false engagement to further push those accounts to drive that wedge even further.
Yep.
And it's sad. It's very sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. Like social media, whether people understand what social media really is or not, social media is actually it's an information weapon. That's what it was really designed for. I mean, it's not like it was just like it came out of nowhere. It was used by our own government in other places, and the disarm stuff that I was talking about, that was developed by our defense industry. Okay, it was designed to influence public opinion in foreign places. That's what it was for. That's why they built it. That's what it did. Okay, so it's not like it just came out of nowhere. We built it. The problem is that we had incompetent people in charge, and they decided, well, instead of using it for what we should use it for, which is, holding our enemies at bay, making sure they don't attack our information space, we're just going to list every single person who put a MAGA hat on as a Russian asset and destroy their account and make sure they have no reach, and then completely censor all conservatives online. That's what it ended up happening, even though it was the stupid thing, because it turns out our enemies don't care if we fight with each other. They're going to take advantage of that. So I hope we manage to get back to the point where we're realizing that, all the division that we see within the United States, we do have to remember that there are other forces out there that want us to lose and want us to lose badly. And I hope people pay attention to that. And, China would want nothing more than to see everyone fall and fight with each other all across America. In fact, they fund entire propaganda networks to do so. Code Pink is an entirely CCP-funded organization that just operates on our shores, and we just ignore it. I mean, that came out over a couple years ago, and Code Pink is still around. Code Pink is still operating. Okay, they were the ones that were behind a lot of those big the pro-Palestine protests. Code Pink was the one funding it. That's CCP funded. So, I really hope we're starting to pay attention to this stuff and we're starting to take it seriously. I hope we are. I do worry a bit. You've been out there in Portland watching Antifa, Matt. So, I do worry that we're not taking a lot of this stuff seriously. I hope we are. I hope we're starting to really go after it. They've been signaling that they are. But we'll see if we actually manage to take it out, because I think that the funding networks on those all need to be shut down. And I think Antifa needs to be listed as a foreign terrorist organization, not just as a regular domestic terrorist organization. I mean, they just had people arrested over in Sweden. There's an Antifa International. Like, I mean, let's not pretend that this is some like small, minor little thing that doesn't exist. Like, it definitely exists, and it's definitely organized, and it's definitely well funded.
100% international, definitely well funded. And the worst part is here in the United States of America that, in my opinion, you do have sympathizers that are in local and state governments that feed them information and make their lives a little bit easier as it goes about it. Probably one of the craziest things I saw from the Antifa over inside of Portland was you had this guy that was always out there in a chicken suit. And I remember watching JD to Delay go down there. He was like one of the first influencers, podcast us, whatever, that I saw go down there. And he was confronted by chicken suit gatherers, just giving him, an extremely hard time. And for some reason, that guy was out there every single day. I was on the ground out there for a week, but, kept up with the story. And that guy was out there almost every single day. There's no way that man's working a regular job. No way he's got regular source of income as far as I'm concerned. And yet we see him getting pictures taken with the Portland City Council. And then you also see him over at the protest in D.C. last week when he was out there in D.C. And so who is funding these people to go around and do those things? Those are all very valid questions. You have, I think I saw a video of like 10,000 rape whistle packets, being put together to follow around DHS agents, that are doing their jobs, getting these illegals off the streets here in the United States of America. Again, who's funding these things? This isn't cheap. This takes money. and that is definitely influence campaign that's running rampant through the United States of America. And it's also, in my opinion, overinflating certain things that are happening, and trying to get more people to buy in, because there's a lot of people in this country, they're like sheeple. They go, well, oh, everybody else is pissed off about this, I should probably be upset about that too. And they don't even bother doing the additional 5 minutes of research that would tell them that everything they're looking at is complete and total garbage. Right? Point in case, the title of your show. They got Trump now. Sure they did. Nope, not even remotely close.
Yep. I mean, it's and this is the name of the show is political theater for a reason, because people need to realize that it is a lot of what you see is theater. And you're right, 100% right about the influence. When you have a bunch of people in the streets, this is the color revolutionary part. Okay, the color revolutionary part is if you get a certain percentage of people out on the streets, it actually makes a serious social difference. And it does. Okay, like it does. This is why I get mad when there was a couple months ago when the No King stuff started popping up. There's a bunch of people that are just ignoring it, acting as if it didn't matter. It does matter. Okay, like it does matter. You should pay attention to it because they're funding it with millions of dollars to get into these protests. I mean, I love that they claim, oh yeah, these organic protests as they carry a 400-foot Constitution down the street in the middle of Chicago. Like, oh yeah, I just got one of those in my yard. Like, I keep that in the garage. I have my 400-foot Constitution. Everyone's got one of those. What do you mean you don't have one? Like, it's so fake. It's so fake, but if you don't know and you're not paying attention, you see a whole bunch of people out in the street carrying a giant Constitution, maybe you go pay attention to it. It works. It works. It is an effective means of doing things. But the foreign influence, the amount of money that gets poured into these groups and where they come from and where it gets from, you're absolutely right. The people that have been paying attention to the Antifa stuff for a long time, they all are well aware, very well aware, that these people are at every protest, that they're at every location. And I think everyone also forgets about there was a guy from an organization not even a lot of people even know about. It's called Crowds on Demand. Okay, so Crowds on Demand is an organization that was designed to bring, crowds of people to show up for events. And he told people in an interview not long ago that, he turned down a $20 million contract. Okay, like this stuff happens, people. It's not just like this is all super easy and organic. Like, oh yeah, everybody's out there. No, you get a lot of people out there. Sure, you get people to tag onto it, but if you have the initial funding to have, a few thousand people show up in certain areas for one day. Yeah, it definitely bolsters it. Okay, especially if some of those people are really paid activists designed to be there, and they're professional speakers, they're professional agitators. All of this stuff is all planned out. I mean, it's not fake. You see all this. I mean, everyone remembers in the 2020 stuff the bricks that just randomly showed up. Okay, like this stuff is worth paying attention to, worth looking into the funding on, and I'm hoping we really start to take it down because it's run roughshod in this country for 10 years now, and people just gotten used to it. And I think that's the worst part. The worst part is that people have just gotten used to the fact that there's violence, political violence that show up every time there's a big conservative commentator that shows up somewhere, that there's just, riots in the streets outside of those locations. That didn't used to happen. Okay. And everyone's so desensitized to it now. Like they act as if it doesn't matter. It does matter. This didn't happen a few years ago. Okay. Like this is a new thing that has come up and it has been ignored, and they completely ignored it. And if you go look at the statistics, they say, oh, there's no left-wing violence. There's none of this stuff. It doesn't really happen. Yeah, it does. Okay. There's no left-wing commentators that have to have full-time personal security every time they go to an event. Okay. That doesn't happen. Okay. That doesn't happen. It only happens to people on the right, and there's a reason for it. Okay, because they when they know that there's an event happening, they fire up their machine. They get a bunch of people out there. I mean, just look what happened in Berkeley just yesterday or 2 days ago. Okay, that stuff is commonplace now, and that it did not used to be commonplace. And hopefully we start to actually pay attention to it and actually get after the funding on it, because I know that's going to go a lot deeper than what this surface idea that there's somehow, oh yeah, they're all just, Antifa's just an idea. It's not an organization. Well, who bails them out of jail then? Okay, who's bailing the people out of jail? Because they get arrested all the time and they all are right back out on the street within hours. Okay, they even have people that watch, specifically are there to watch to help bail them out of jail.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember in 2020, you had Kamala Harris bailing out people with, with people like Steve Carell was also help bailing people out of these prisons.
Exactly. I mean, we can't pretend as if this isn't something that's true. This has been happening. It's been ignored for far too long, and at least now we're starting to see some sort of action on it. But I'll tell you right now that the stuff that at Berkeley, like there needs to be something more that is done. Anytime there's these big events, like I know it's not easy because the judges in some of these areas are activists and whatnot. But to my mind, I don't care. Charge them anyway. Even if they have to go through the whole process, charge them anyway. Do it anyway. Bring the case. Make sure you charge them. I think you should do it on a federal level at every single time one of these events shows up. Bring the bus in, arrest 100 people. That's what you should be doing. Because if we're going to treat it like a terrorist organization, we need to treat it like a terrorist organization. We can't treat it just with kid gloves, and that's a problem. All right, guys, we are actually over time this evening, so we've gone a little bit further than normal. Normally, we usually have a little bit of a section of the show. We'll stay up for another 10 minutes or so. If you guys want to come up and ask questions to anybody up here on the panel, myself or Matt or Jacktron or Chris, you are welcome to do so now. If you are listening on the other streams on YouTube, Rumble, Substack, you got to go to x.com and go to @WCDispatch to be able to join the show. Just request, and you can come up and you can ask whatever you would like for the last few minutes here. If there's no other request, though, in the next couple of minutes, we're just going to go ahead and shut down because we are already over time on the show this evening. So that would be the only call for it now, guys, if you're willing to do that. Make sure you guys follow this show. Make sure you guys subscribe to my content. Make sure you subscribe to Matt's content. You go check out his YouTube channel. What is your name? Your podcast is Speak the Truth, right, Matt?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Make sure you guys check out Matt Tardio's podcast. It's a great show. He does a great job, really good analysis. But if there's nobody coming up here, then, guys, I think we will shut down then. So we will be back tomorrow night, guys, at 9 p.m. for more of the political theater. Thank you guys for showing up here this evening. Make sure you guys subscribe to the WC Dispatch, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark. Their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, it ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so. Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised hairs, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so. Yeah, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawns, friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast one. No, we won't be spun.